Now we can begin.
Ow. Down. Perfect. And it's choppy. I'm gonna. Yes, we're recording. I'm gonna try and switch the server real fast.
No, Ashton, I can't pause. It's an online game.
And everything was better instantly. Perfect. Wait. That disconnected Craig.
Killed Craig. For
Hey.
one national.
Now recording.
Thank you, Craig.
Our
Alright.
national nightmare has resumed.
Shut up or die. A teetering wagon, missing a wheel and half of the rest of it, leans lopsided against one of the Icalian roots bursting from the ground and rising meters before descending once more. Inside, a decapitated Noctian and two murdered Fire auditors. Cecil, the look of the hunt still residual in his eye, has returned from the same direction in the thick jungles that Virgil just ran off into. Yelling after the wounded, stubborn Shpithni, a small elephant-like creature with 4 eyes and tusks each, the Balturan doctor was quickly gone from sight, and thereafter hoisted by more men akin to the one Cecil had just clashed with after a successful operation on the animal. I need to turn this down more. I cannot hear myself breathe. The night previous, in Eden, headway deeper into the confines of Antikythera revealed a strange dilemma. The next chamber had 2 entrances, one to a claustrophobic puzzle of machinery and deadly shifting rooms, the next leading to a series of catwalks overlooking the lower portion, both separated by a veil of the collapsing death invisibly situated in the void around and throughout the gargantuan machine. Back in the mud roads, a stray beam of sunlight streams into the jungle for the first time upon arrival, showcasing Dirt Scritch emerging from her home. More ambiently comes the smell of blood and a distant rumble. An oppressive air settles and, but for the rumble, the jungle is silent. I'm sad because we never get to my favorite part of the intro music, so I'm just going to leave it playing for a bit. What do you guys want to do?
Where is Amalia in all of this?
I would suppose Amalia is with Catherine and Cecil in front of the ruined wagon, and the less wounded Shpithni, the one that hasn't run off yet.
Okay. And she would have been there when Virgil ran off, yeah?
Yeah.
And he's been gone for how long?
Virgil's been gone for... Let's see. Probably a good 15-20 minutes.
Cecil is sitting on the wagon, you know, just vibing, kicking his feet around.
Any sign of Virgil from up there?
Virgil, oh. Yeah, he's been gone for a little bit, huh? Eric, can I follow his scent?
Yeah, you sort of raise your head into the air over your shoulder. Yeah, you smell him pretty well.
Cecil's like, not to worry, I
You
can
smell the apples.
I can go find him. No issue. And Cecil, you know, just like stuffs his hands into his pockets and follows the scent through the forest.
So you get about 10 feet away by the time Dirt Scritch and her scrambling down to the forest floor kind of rushes over.
Okay.
And as she gets there, another rumble just kind of shakes the ground. You hear some leaves unsettle,
Nice.
and she looks frightened. She's gonna look to Amalia, since you're the closest one that she
Trust.
yes. And she says,
Whoa, No, she does not say that, Jonah.
What? How much do you know about these woods? Do you know any legends?
Close to fucking all, actually. I'm not from around here.
Great. We all have to get inside right now.
Alright.
And
Why?
she just starts like gesturing at all of you to follow her. I can explain like after we're inside, but unless you want to be
More
Pope.
people trying to kill you for eating them?
She shakes her head rapidly, and like that sort of rapid movement is a little uncharacteristic of her. You hear some like bark straining and cracking in the movement.
Cecil?
What?
Might have a problem.
Well, it's a problem that I am going to have to deal with if I don't find Virgil. So, I'll meet back with you.
She's gonna look at Dark Scratch.
Dirt Scritch is just like holding a hand, blocking her vision, blocking Cecil out of her vision, so that seems like a weird coping mechanism where she's like, I guess he's dead.
I think it might be a real problem if you go out there right now.
Amalia,
First,
Amalia,
then we'll go look for him.
they might have been a misrepresentation. Cecil's out of the tree line. Cecil's like in
All right,
the woods.
Cecil's gone. Dirt Scritch sort of like looks between you two, you three, Catherine, Albus, and Amalia, and she kind of says hurriedly, is there any more of you that didn't come visit me? I have plenty of room.
Up by the airship.
The what?
Albus. Yiffy. Go to the airship. Warn it. Fuck, what am I doing? She pulls her the sending stone.
What are we warning them about?
That's a great question. What am I warning them?
You see these really, really big trees? And she gestures to the one that she's building on.
Have they about to start moving, or?
Well, it's not the tree, but the threat is called Sevile Plicacid. It's a type of mushroom colony, and it infests them, and is kind of there's a lot to explain.
Wait, let me roll. What would I roll to know if this is something I know about?
Yeah, you can just roll either nature, history, or 19, sure. All right, so you are big into mostly plants. You've done some Venn diagramming with mushrooms, so.
Yeah, well, this is a mushroom that
Yeah, this
parasites
is a legend, because in theory, Sevile Plicacid, a particularly invasive mushroom colony, it's indigenous to the Sylvan district. If it were to feast on enough of the insides of an Acalia tree, which is the largest species of tree, as far as you know, in the world, enough of its interior pulp would be eaten away to lighten the limbs of the tree. Nice job. While simultaneously greatly lowering the amount of water needed to keep the organism alive, and this rare combination of things allows the tree to relocate, turning it into the largest, most durable ecosystem juggernaut in possibly the entire world.
Wait, you've got one. Dang, I need a good place to watch this. All right, is there any place that's safe to climb up that I'd have a good view?
Alright, give me in 20 words or less, what am I dealing with here?
Big giant walking tree thing, but like really, really big. Well, technically it's the mushroom, but it's the mushroom in the tree.
Dirt Scritch stops pacing from foot to foot, and she looks at you and she says, "You want a high place to watch?"
Yeah, of course.
The highest place to
I mean,
watch is
I've
going to
only
be
heard
on
this
top of
happening.
it.
I never actually saw it. I thought it was a myth.
Did you hear me? Like it's the tallest kind of tree, so you can't really get above it without flying.
Okay, well, I meant, like someplace that's distant enough that I won't get knocked around, but that I can still see what's going on.
Dirchkutch just shakes her head rapidly. You'd, at that point, would just have to pick a spot and pray that you're not in the direction it intends to go.
Hey, Eric.
What's up?
I have a non-zero chance of survival, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yes, hi. I'm doing D&D, sweetie. Could you bother me later?
Right, so Amalia is going to hop on Sending Stone.
Okay. What do you say?
What? It's Florian's, yeah? What are the people who live here?
It's what?
What's species called? Folian.
Folian, yes. Hi there, bub.
Is there an Eevee?
It's Evie, bubba.
Baby.
Is your name a cat? While we wait for Amalia to use the sending stone so that I can tell her it doesn't work. It doesn't work, by the way. I don't care what the message is. Remember, this was a sending stone that had been given to you by Sylvia.
Yeah.
It's conceivably still with her things.
Why would we want to not take the incredibly useful communication device from us?
I mean, didn't Cecil take like some
Respect for
sunflower
the dead.
seeds and a weird coin?
I do want to say really quick that I love the idea that it's just like her phone is ringing in her pocket while she's in a shallow grave in the district and you were in.
Oof. Oh, oof.
Alright.
Alright, so you ring up the sending stone and you get nothing.
And then original plan, she tears out a scrap of her spell book and writes this message because I'm not wasting this now.
Alright? Mr. Bubba, your bub! Oh, the Evie! Oh, you love the pets! You love them until you bite me. And you haven't bit me yet, so you love the pets. Oh, the air scratches. The bubba bub. It's the bub. I should
I
get in.
think Pie's jealous.
Folian here says the giant trees are about to move. Mushrooms involved. Follow Kabi back to safety. Going after Cecil and Virgil. We'll try not to die. Oh, that makes things more interesting. Alright. Not what I was expecting. Catherine. So Albus, what are you gonna do? Are you going after Cecil and Virgil with Amalia, or are you going back to the airship to warn the others with Catherine? Alright. To the airship. Oh no. So let's cut to Virgil. You're not being dragged along the forest floor by your arms like you were initially. You've now been hitched up on the shoulders of one of these like a little kid. Like piggyback rides. And they're being like as far as weird forest people go, pretty delicate with you, except these are very clearly humans. And there's 3 of them, and the one you're on top of is the largest. There's one that's slightly smaller next to him, and then there's a much smaller person proximal. And you're going through the woods for a bit until it sort of clears out, and you realize that some of the smaller trees that were around you weren't trees. They were like these they were these hatched pseudo walls with ornamentation and dream catchers and some other things that looked like they were woven out of spider silk, just sort of attached to them. And you're let down onto your feet at a big opening in one of these, in sort of this arched gateway with a great big skull with a single horn coming out of its forehead. Looks like a primate skull that's probably as big as your entire body, just kind of slightly off kilter to the left, but it's sort of ornamenting the entire thing. And the dude that was carrying you looks down at you and nods and sort of gestures for you to enter.
Kara, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Hello? Hello.
Hi.
Hi,
Yeah.
Caro.
I'll be switching to my old phone as soon as I give it some charge, I promise.
No problem. You sound fine.
Sound better there.
This phone just keeps cutting out with the headset. It's weird bullshit.
Alright.
You want me to enter that?
Yeah, it looks like their little village, and it looks down at you, and then says, "No speak. No speak." And then it gestures to its chest and says, "Me no good."
Oh, baby.
Oh, poor guy. I can help with that, actually. If you don't mind, I've got something that can help you.
It furrows its brow and says, "Me no speak."
Eric. This
Okay, if you don't want to.
It seems like he just doesn't understand your language. He might not be stupid.
he's a giant from Dark Souls. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Very
Other
good.
people. Thank you for the ride, by the way. That was very comfortable. Well, actually, all things.
It nods rapidly and just gestures again. In.
Oh. Well, what about these two? Can I at least get a little bit of information here? Like, I could be going to my death, and
He points.
kind of don't.
He points to the one next to him and goes, "No speak." And then he points to the little ones like, "No speak."
Well,
Me speak small, but no good.
I think you do a wonderful job.
It just
Keep
looks.
practicing.
It looks confused. You're talking too fast. Too many words. After
Riddler just gives him a thumbs up and sighs and decides to enter the fucking skull. Fuck it, let's go.
So you're not entering the skull. It's an archway with a skull above it.
Oh,
Is it a real skull or like a
Yeah, it
flower
looks
shaped
super real. It kind of smells bad. And
nothing Ashavayan isn't used to.
so as you enter, the
smells
small one is very fast to be the first one to enter, so slightly ahead of you, for some sort of reason or another. And all of a sudden, you're in this very low to the ground kind of village, propped up huts and teepees, and they're fashioned in a really peculiar way, with these sort of 5-branched corkscrew stilts that hold them up, like above the muds, and then you can sort of see, like, on the underside of the corkscrew stilts, they're mirrored, and they sort of function as these wooden springs that are made
Fascinating.
solely with branches and rope.
Kavi will love this place.
And the small one just kind of gently takes your hand and starts to lead you over to the left side of this village. It only takes you probably about 30 seconds to a minute to get all the way to where it's intending for you to go before stopping, which looks like this little clearing with a bunch of sand thrown into a small pit. And then the small one looks at you and goes, "You job?"
I'm good at what I did with your animal. And he pantomimes.
So for this smaller one, they're almost completely shrouded in leaves. You can't quite tell if they're male or female or something else. You can see their eyes, so you can see intent. You can see that they're human. You can see tufts of brown hair kind of sticking out, but it mostly looks like somebody who would be very easily mistaken as a Folian from a distance. And the eyes, like I said, you can see intent. They look confused. You job hunt?
No, job, heal, help.
Job help. Show.
Take out
Your animal. What exactly are they called?
They're called Shapithnes. You don't know if that's what they call them though.
Shapithnes?
So you say Shapithne and it does understand. It is what they call them. I'm not an asshole.
Thank God. Shapithne, healed, dead.
Ah. Oh. It looks down, and then it gasps and kind of like steps back. You job, life witch?
Pronouns. Difficult.
No magic. Medicine.
No magic. It sort of changes glances with some others as they look at you,
Science.
and more and more occupants of this village are kind of congregating and exchanging looks and whispering just life witch, him job life witch, and they can't really fathom the word medicine, but but the small one just kind of approaches you timidly and takes out a jagged bone knife and just right across its inner arm really quickly without even wincing, and then holds it out. Show.
Okay.
Virgil. Bard at stake?
Just like, what the hell are you doing? You shouldn't even.
Hey, that's not bad.
All right, so how do you treat this wound?
Make it look as mystical as possible. Like carve some like whalebone charms into it.
I mean, his
Wait,
only
I'm not-
his only tools are leaves.
I am not dishonoring this shit, Fergus. Hate to disappoint.
It's okay.
Love that game.
It's a good one. So yeah.
Now, what did you say, Eric?
How are you treating this like big jagged bone dagger wound?
Well, it is technically just a sudden slash,
Yep.
so stopping the bleeding and probably stitching it back together.
All right. And as you do, everyone's like, oh, oh, and you hear just some more distant mutterings, just like, life witch, his job, life witch, and finally, like after it's all stitched up, and you unlock the dude's arm because you were holding it like pinned in between like your knee joint and your other arm, so you could get the tendons taut. And then you apply like a salve to it to help the wound heal, and it takes its arm back and just regards the treatment with wonder, and then the one that you just treated bows incredibly deeply, and then says, "He will face life witch." And then you're turned back towards this little pit of sand, and all of a sudden just shoved in.
Ah!
That's good.
And then you hear the approach of one of these villagers, much larger than any of the rest, with a headdress that you don't see any of the others wearing, and you can just see a plethora of knives dangling from his coat. he's not wearing as many leaves. He's completely bare-chested and bare abdomened. You can see a large portion of his thighs and his calves, but he has these bark sandals and like this giant wooden gauntlet on its right hand, on his right arm. And
Do they look incredibly ruined? Do I have passive medicine?
they're all revering this guy as as the village life witch, and he hops down with you into the sand pit, and it looks like he wants to fight. And we
Really?
cut to Cecil.
Really not the best at fighting.
So
You'll do
yeah,
well.
So Cecil,
Cecil is frantically dashing through the woods, following Cecil's scent.
Virgil's scent.
Virgil's scent. My bad.
He's just running around in circles. I'll find him eventually.
So as you're running, you hear something very, very faintly in the distance. It sounds like a march almost.
Don't care about the tree.
It's not like rumbling. It's like human marching, like a bunch of different timed footfalls.
Cool. Does it smell like Virgil?
Yeah, it's in the direction.
Alright, then off he goes in that direction.
All right,
He's
great.
Russian.
And now we will get to Catherine and Albus. You guys start making your way back to the airship. Passive perceptions, please.
Okay. Passive perception.
Oh, this is about to be a whole lot real fast.
Ooh, I have a 17. Passive.
17's good. You notice Roderick. And he's on the ground. He's not moving.
Roderick? Like he looks injured?
Maybe. You can't see that much of him, but you notice portions of his clothing, probably attached to maybe his arm and a portion of his leg sticking out from some shrubberies.
Well, obviously I go running over.
You go running over, and yes, he's very badly wounded. Not quite dead. He looks like he's in shock. And it doesn't look like you can do anything for him right now.
Can I stabilize him?
You can certainly, so stabilizing isn't, you can try. I don't know how you're gonna do it, because you don't have a healer's kit.
Yeah, I don't.
Do you have a healer's kit? Usually
let's see,
it's Virgil doing
I have
this.
a poisoner's kit, an herbalist kit. Do either of those count as a healer's kit?
No, you kind of need a healer's kit for this. So as he's just looking up in shock, like without any recognition, his gaze clears for just a moment, and his eyes look down at you. There's some blood spattering like his right cheek, coming out of a gash in it, and then there's some around his neck too, and it's seeping out from like down his left sleeve. Like his left sleeve is just soaked with it, and you can feel some broken bones under his clothes. And as the recognition dawns in his eyes and he's looking at you, he's like, where's your doctor friend?
I don't know. I look at Albus. Well, don't just stand there. Help me with him. You got any? You got any potions? You got any cure potions?
Nothing, I'm checking.
Well, I'm gonna cast Cure Wounds.
As you do, you can hear some fragments of shattered bone just coming out of his lungs as he can finally take breaths.
Quick, we have to get onto the airship. There's no marking
No!
at the moment.
Don't go back.
Well, we gotta.
This whole fucking place was a trap.
Well, where are
There's some
the
people.
others?
Some people are after silver blood, and I think gold steel too. I had to run. Oh fuck, they're so strong.
Okay. Do you have Well, we're gonna need to find a place to hide quick because aside from the people, there's some scary level trees.
Somewhat.
Well, sorry, what did you say they were called again?
They're the myth. They're called crawling escallions.
Okay.
I
Well,
think.
it turns
Hold
out
on.
that crawling scallions
Crawling
are real,
Acalians.
Sorry. It turns out that crawling Acalians are real, and they're also on their way here.
I don't know what that
and,
is.
It's basically when this huge giant tree gets filled with mushrooms, and the mushrooms make it walk around. So they sent us to go tell you guys to get out of the way, and I was hoping we could use the airship to watch it from air, but,
He's sort of doing his best to like get up, and he definitely needs you to help support him. So he's got his arm around your shoulders.
should I cast Cure Wounds again?
He looks like he'll be in walking shape in a couple minutes, but the transition's still happening.
Okay. So I kind of, try to put my hand under, his arm. I mean, like, he's way taller than me, but, I'm trying. Like,
Let's just go.
Alright.
It sounds like he is perfectly fine with leaving the rest of the crew for dead. To whatever he hinted at.
Yeah. I mean, fair.
Any objections, Albus / Catherine?
Catherine wouldn't object. Albus might. I don't know.
So, list of people Albus might care about. Silver Blood. Gold Steel. What's his name? Zavoim.
Could you object? I
Frederick.
can't.
Frederick. Yep, Frederick's there. Abraxi. What else? Was that it? That might be it. I should probably make a list of these people at some point.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh,
Maybe,
the kid, Rudolph.
Yeah.
maybe if Braxy dies, we'll never get to dissect him.
It's true.
Yeah, but right now she's focused on Roger.
So no objections, Albus?
Now, if Albus wants to make that argument, maybe she'll listen. But... All right. Get you up. Get you. Okay. So if we can't go above the trees, we can figure out where they're walking towards, and we can, maybe like find someplace underground. There's caves underground here. I know there's caves underground here.
There are some caves
Somewhere.
underground. Yeah. No, they're
We can
just
try to find a
ambiently.
cave.
The closest one's probably like 70-ish feet away. The closest one that looks like you'd be able to get down into it. There's a lot of perforations in the ground.
Right, then let's get ourselves underground. You coming, Albus?
I'll come.
All right. So, Virgil, roll initiative.
Okay.
Fun. You're having a doctor fight.
You have to beat 19.
I did not.
All
But
right.
That's fair. He wasn't expecting it.
So, I'm not mean enough to make this a surprise round. He gets down to one knee in front of you and puts his bark gauntleted arm in the sand. It doesn't look like he can actually move his arm inside of it, like it's a static gauntlet, like a club. And as it makes contact with the sand around it starts to turn this sickly gray color as these vines of energy come up and just start to enwreath it. And it looks like he starts pulling on them, and his muscles are straining against the weight. And after he finishes, there's just this mass of writhing purplish black energy that's around his right arm, and he sort of hoists it behind his head and throws it at you. I think a 22 hits.
A 22 hits.
Roll a Constitution saving throw and take 17 shadow damage. Alright, you're not paralyzed. Great.
Can I uncanny dodge that?
Yeah, you see it coming. So take
Thank God.
take 8 instead. And what do you want to do? He's probably about 10 feet away from you. And he just starts trudging forward.
He's going. Oh lordy, coming.
Well, first I have to put my hit points back because we benefited from a long rest upon exiting the coal calculator place.
So
Exit calculator place.
after the impact, your ears are kind of ringing, but you do hear the thump, thump, thump of like the villagers have congregated around this sand pit, and they're all stomping in time with one another and doing this tribal dance.
Okay, okay, big boy. If you, are you sure you don't want to talk this out?
He stops trudging. Talk.
I don't even know what's going on.
Talk me. And then he starts talking much more rapidly and coherently in a language you don't recognize.
It's like weakness in front of you.
I don't recognize that. God.
So after you respond in your language again, you can't see this one's face. It has a wooden mask on that's painted with like berries, and it pauses again, and then sort of opens its arms and says, "Show that you life witch."
I already tested that on one guy. And I'm not a witch. It's science.
So what do you do? It's your initiative. Are you waiting for him to beat the shit out of you?
Okay, if you want me to show, then I'll show you what I can do. And he's going to treat himself.
Alright, as you do, like some of the villagers that are doing the stomping kind of fall a little off key as they kind of run up to the railing to get a closer look at what you're doing, and they're pointing in interest before some of their seniors like pull them back and like slap them around. Alright, so what does you being treated with the focus serum look like here?
It's the same thing that it always looks like, a needle to the forearm.
Do you see like a pulsing sort of color start to spread through your veins?
Yeah.
What color would you say the
Pulsing.
focus serum is?
A nice light blue.
Alright. That color is particularly present in your face and your eyes.
Oh, I haven't felt a rush like this in ages.
So that's a bonus action, I think? Or is it an action?
Technically, it's an item. It's an item use, I think.
So I'm, as far as item uses go, I designate them as bonus actions because it's not an explicit part of your action economy. That was something that was a house rule for the Scorched contract, and then before that, the other two.
He is just shooting himself up with a syringe. It's not like that takes too much focus.
Additionally, you can choose 4 treatments. You may administer a treatment whenever you use a poisoner's kit or a healer's kit up to 3 times every long rest. Yeah, I'll say, just to establish it here more clearly, in combat is a bonus action. So great.
Sounds good to me. That sounds good to me.
I heard.
Okay.
So
good.
you still have the rest of your action.
Yep. It was also a treatment, so can I roll to regain some of that?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
You regain 7
What's
hit
half of that
points.
rounded down? 3?
Yeah. You round up. Round up for
4
healing,
then.
down for damage. So
Okay.
you heal 4.
I'll take it. It's a little bit of extra oomph.
That said, you can't proc sneak
And-
attack like as damage when you do that. But that's fine. You probably weren't going to get an advantage anyways.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. It just says, you know, as a result of using a healer's kit, roll your sneak attack damage dice as well. You regain additional health equal to half the result. So,
Drugs.
Whoa.
drugs, right?
All right. So what are you doing? You pull it out. The blue color pulses throughout your body.
Style.
What style?
Is it just a normal like pit of sand Colosseum style?
Yeah, it's not even that big. It's like maybe 15 feet across in radius, and it's roughly circular. So
And everyone is around, stomping and watching.
yeah,
No real place to hide, is there?
not particularly.
Open combat. Well, I guess I'll just go for. I've got the glowing down. I need to take that down. Let me check this again real quick. Bonus action. Well, I can take the normal action to dodge, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I'll just get ready for whatever he throws at me then.
All right. He goes to punch you in the head.
Of course he does.
All right. Describe how he doesn't punch you in the head. How do you dodge it? He's going for a full-bodied like lunge with his wood gauntleted
Full
arm.
body lunge, he's putting all of that into it.
Yep.
Can I be anime as fuck and front flip over this?
Yes.
Cool.
So you plant both of your hands on the top of the gauntlet as it's surging forward, and then you just jump. You kick as hard as you can with your legs, and then pivot around the point of contact and kind of round off past him, and then land on the sand behind him as you watch him sort of stumble and then catch himself with his non-gauntleted hand on the edge of the sand pit and turn around. And he goes,
You missed, buddy.
It's your turn. I'm gonna play something. Actually, not quite, or maybe you know what? Yeah, I am. Let's switch to Cecil real fast. Then when we get back to you, think about what you want to do, and I'm gonna switch to music. So Cecil, you
Yes?
come upon the entrance to the same entrance that Virgil had come through. You're kind of out of breath. It's been quite the run. It took you about 5-10 minutes to get here. It looks like there's just people inside.
Okay.
There's not even any real guards.
Okay. Yeah. So, it was described as a gate, right?
Yeah, a gate with a rough sort of kind of wall that just blends in with the environment really well. You didn't even really recognize what it was until you were within probably 30-40 feet of it.
Yeah. Okay. Cecil kind of regains his breath, and knocks on the gate.
So the gate trembles a little bit under your knock.
Yeah.
It doesn't even look particularly
It's a shitty
sturdy.
board.
Kind of. And one of the villagers that was kind of dozing nearby just kind of comes to and sees you, and then rushes over and looks you up and down, and almost with recognition. You can see their eyes and nose and mouth, but like the rest of their face is blocked off by these wooden plates that are dangling from a headdress that they're wearing. They're about as tall as you, but they look young, and they cock their head and they give you a sniff and then say, "You." And then it puts a finger over its lips as if like deep in thought. How? And then it gestures for you to follow it.
You know, Cecil was expecting a big confrontation. You know, guards, people like the person that he fought last. You know, he was frightened a little bit, but you know, he'll take his time here. He nods and follows along.
So, this guy leads you in the opposite direction. You hear the stomping. You see a whole bunch of villagers congregated around a sand pit. You can't even see the sand pit. They're just stomping. He's leading you explicitly away from that, towards where it looks like the only 3 people that weren't a part of that currently reside, and you recognize one of them because they still have a bit of the very effective ghillie mantle that they were wearing in your combat with them. There is a big, real, just horrible, deep gash going from the back of their shoulder down along their spine and then further to the back of their abdomen, and it's just oozing with this blood and pus.
Yep.
It's very recognizable as a wound left by death in the West, and they're sitting facing away from you. All clothing and other such has been stripped away from their torso. You can still see some of the wooden hairpins in their thick brown hair. They're facing away from you, and it looks like there are some like hot wooden needles sticking up out of the wound, holding some silk in place. Like it looks like some weird medical procedure that was stopped halfway through.
Okay, yeah.
And their head turns slightly on your approach, and he turns around and just sits facing you, and his eyes are very nonchalant, but they're the same piercing yellow, and he nods as you approach and says, "Welcome."
Give me back my doctor.
Your what?
Which?
We have a doctor?
He sort of gestures for the one that had led you to come over closer to him, but he doesn't take his eyes off of you. And as he does, the dude starts pulling, not the person with the needles in them, the one that just talked to you, but the one that led you over starts hesitantly pulling the wooden needles out of the wound in his shoulder, and he stands and sort of walks over and says, "Are you talking about the one that was brought over from the Shpitny?"
Yes, probably.
He just looks to the right. Well, he won't be dead, but it's gonna take a minute. And then he looks back at you.
Well,
So after seeing that you and this guy recognize each other, the one that brought you over takes several steps back and then bows deeply, like gets on his knees, and just isn't looking up.
Cecil puts a hand, like, kind of under this guy's, or person's, like, underarm, just to hoist them back up to their feet. And then looks back over to the ring and is like, I think I'll be getting him now. And I would like to mark, Sentra as my nemesis of this season.
Okay. You can pick whenever you want your song to play while he's on screen.
Sounds good. Just some, like, now we can switch scenes over to Virgil. if you want.
I'm gonna switch back to Catherine and Albus.
Oh yeah.
Actually, no. I'm gonna switch to Amalia. So Amalia,
Yeah.
you jump into the tree line, and how are you figuring out where to go?
Um, I'm figuring it out because Cecil was in a hurry and did not obscure his track.
Did Cecil obscure his tracks?
Cecil kind of by just by existing covers his own tracks. Like I wouldn't say
What's
Yeah,
your
explicitly said
what's your
he
dex
ran
modifier?
my dex mod is 4.
Okay, I'm gonna say that this is a passive DC of 14 then. So
Okay.
roll
An
roll
passive
survival or perception.
I have an 18 passive perception.
Great. So you can follow.
Yeah.
It's a little difficult because you're not really familiar with tracking things through jungles, but you notice broken branches when you see them. You even kind of pass some instances of combat and like lots of burnt wood, some of which is still smoldering, but that's fine. And you start booking it as well. I assume you're running.
Yeah.
Okay, so you left about 10, 15 minutes after Cecil did, so you'll get there about 10, 15 minutes after he does. Catherine and Albus, you reconvene with Dirt Scritch, who is waiting at the base of her tree, and she notices the wounded, and just looks at you and says, "Can he climb?"
Oh, I thought we have time to get back to Dirt Scritch. I thought that we were. That
Oh right,
we didn't
you were
have-
going to the caves. You're going to the caves. My bad. So you run over to the caves.
I mean, if it seems like there's time to get back to Dirt Scritch.
You don't know how much time there is. The stomps definitely seem much louder, much closer, and there's also apparently some kind of threat at the airship. So you going to the caves?
Yep.
You duck down into the
Looks
caves. These ones don't look like they go particularly deep. Is high, good, or bad?
High is excellent.
Yes.
There's
High
probably
is not excellent.
There's probably something else in here with you, but you don't really have time to worry about that right now. As Roderick just kind of hunches over and nestles up in a little cranny. He looks like he's doing his best to avoid contact between his left arm and anything else. He winces in pain whenever he moves in a certain way, and his wounds have some weird properties. Roll Arcana.
Okay. Con.
Instead of just blood coming out, there's also like this weird shadowy substance.
It's not anything like with what happened to Rudolph, right?
The closest thing you can approximate this to would be Cockerspiel.
That was going to be my next question.
I don't think I should be.
Oh. Does that Arcana tell me if there's anything I can do, or if it looks immediately dangerous or anything?
Still a wound, and you should probably get Virgil.
Okay.
Or Amalia. I don't know. Like you're good at plants, and you're good at figuring out that this is probably bad.
Okay, but does it look like it's immediately, or
Roderick looks like he's going to live. You don't know what the lasting effects of this are going to be, but you hope they're all right. You still feel a little pressed on time. Like you want to see him healthy again. And you
Okay.
you have no idea where to start for what the treatment for this would be.
All right. Well, I just basically take some potions, mixing out of my bag. Saying, take this and here, and hopefully this should, just keep you feeling better a bit, and this should, like maybe do this and
Catherine, please stop fussing over me.
that. All right. So I go to the entrance to the cave, and I make myself comfortable to see if maybe I can get a glimpse of those tree things
All right.
from here.
Albus, what are you doing?
I don't know what I'm doing.
You just chilling?
Hello?
I can hear you.
Yeah, sounds breaking up over here.
Oh, that's not good. Did you hear what I asked?
Yeah. No.
I asked what Albus is doing. You guys are down in the caves that are hopefully safe. Roderick is hunched up against a wall.
I have lesser restoration. I have lesser restoration. Does
Okay.
that work?
Yeah, do you want to use that?
Yeah.
All right, great. So, Albus, you go over to Roderick and you start kind of. I'm gonna say that like your gauntlets start pulling like these sort of like imaginary magical strings of this enwreathing healing magic down over some of the wounds, and the seeping shadows start to abate quite a bit until they finally stop. And Roderick's just kind of watching this like at first very apprehensive, but it seems like he's breathing easier afterwards, and he looks up at you and is just like, oh, you don't talk much, but thank you.
Um, what are we gonna do now?
I think we're just hiding until the coast is clear. I don't think it's safe to go out for anybody else.
Okay. I kind of look around. So, what happened on the ship?
Some people that they were dressed in this brilliant platinum white clothing. They just appeared all of a sudden. It seemed like they were familiar with Idea. They called her a different name though. He kind of like winces in memory and says, there were a few people we shouldn't have brought along. Looks like they were maybe the ones in contact with them. The Asgardian fellow.
Sadly.
Well. Okay, so. Do you think they're alive?
It seemed more like a capture sort of mission.
Oh.
They also had a weird vehicle. It kind of seemed to float. It's kind of in the same way airships do, but without necessarily being constrained by the wind or other such forces. And,
Well,
unless you have any other questions, I'm going to go back to Virgil.
okay, yeah.
Alright, what do I want to play?
Virgil's theme?
You want to start out with that? Because you might want it later in this
I
series of events.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. This is something more is happening here.
He is getting his ass kicked, so it's probably not the best time to bring in the theme.
Exactly.
Actually, I'm not going to change the music yet because I don't want to be changing it like 5 or 6 times during the combat. So Virgil,
That's fair.
it's your turn. What do? You just vaulted over this guy's attack.
Just vaulted over him. Do you get disadvantage if you use the dart at close?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That seems stupid.
It's a
I mean, you have to
reflex.
swing a fucking sling around to throw it, and if they're
You just-
right up on your shit,
Stab someone with it.
that's a melee attack.
Bleh.
You can't really wield
Do
a
I get-
dart.
Okay. Admittedly, not gonna lie, was kind of thinking they're the little bar darts.
You have Tonfas.
So, yeah, I do, but you can't. Well, well, it doesn't.
They also
it
do
says
more
when you
damage than
poison
darts.
a bladed weapon
That's
for
true.
the for brittle bone, and
I've
Tonfas
been
aren't a bladed
I've been
weapon.
allowing you to apply it with Tonfas, so I don't see why not.
Cool. In that case, we're
I'll
gonna
probably say
slather a salve of brittle bone on this and smack them.
All right, roll attack. Nice. Roll damage.
Hey.
And then roll the brittle bone damage twice. So 13, 18, 26 bludgeoning damage. Now, what does this look like?
Break the back of his leg.
Well, I front flipped over him, landed, probably used that time to slap a salve on the top, then just whirled around and cracked on the bottom, on the back of his knees.
All right. So he kind of like growls behind the mask, and you feel some of his armor reverberate under the impact of the tonfas as he's driven down to one knee. And as he turns around to face you, you just hit him in the side of the head, and then bring your leg up and crack it in the opposite direction. And as you do, bring your leg up to crack him in the head, he grabs it. And then he hurls his gauntleted arm over your shoulder and tries to bear hug you close. Resist the grapple.
Can I do that with acrobatics? I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out
If
how to
if you can
visualize
if you
that.
can describe an acrobatic way to get out of this.
Are you near a wall?
It's not that hard to do.
If you're near
He is, he's grabbed my leg and is pulling it in for a bear hug, right?
He's grabbed your leg and is pulling the rest of you in for a bear hug.
Oh, two hands, right? Okay. Well,
Okay,
that
go
leaves
if
one
you're
leg.
bear hug,
You could also,
To-
roll with acrobatics to remove your leg out of the situation before it happens, right?
or get pulled.
Yeah,
up
roll
and
first to see if
stretch
it
your
works.
legs again.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
See if it works.
Yep. So
Dare say I'm good.
it does
can
work. How does it work?
Well, I'm thinking that he can just use his free leg to twist and spin away,
Yep. Sure.
but
That works. You get out, and then he just kind of like rapidly crawls on his knees towards you and slams his big headdress towards your forehead. And a 24 probably hits.
a 24 definitely hits.
All right. You can see this coming, so you can uncanny dodge to reduce it to
Take
3
3.
damage.
Hell yeah.
Bump head.
Roll a Constitution save. Nice. So more black purpley energy starts to seep from the mask after it makes contact, and you just like yeah, and you shake it all away. And back to you, Cecil.
Yes.
You feel a little bit of a tug on your wrist.
Cecil looks back and plays his theme.
You just want to beat the shit out of this guy for very little reason.
No, he did try and kill Cecil. And would have been successful.
So has everyone we've met.
Yeah. If you
Not
try,
true.
kind of true, yeah. Furthermore, I think these guys are pretty peaceful, and if you kill their hunter,
I didn't say anything about kill. Anyway,
okay.
We've met, I haven't tried to kill us yet. It's
Alright. You feel a little bit of a tug on your wrist.
Yep, turns around, sees whom?
You don't see anything. You feel a tug on your wrist. It's like kind of
Oh.
like lifting it a little bit, but it's
Wait,
a
is this
very
the wrist with the...
yeah.
Okay. Cecil pulls back his sleeve and...
Are you fighting
Which
the
way
pull or no?
No, following it.
It is raising your hand in the direction of the person with the wound in front of you.
Alright, Cecil walks over to them.
It just places your hand against his chest. He's probably like a good 7-8 inches shorter than you.
Okay.
And he looks at your hand, and then his unwounded hand comes up and places on your chest, and he looks up at you and he looks slightly confused and he says, Doctor now?
What?
You said you were saying you wanted your doctor back.
Yes.
Great.
The
He looks
one
at
with
his
the ring.
yeah, he nods, understanding, and he looks at his hand and lowers it. He kind of like adjusts his wounded shoulder a little bit and says, "You're a hunter?
Something like that.
Then it will be me. Come." And he starts to lead you to the sand pit.
Alright.
And as the two of you approach, everyone notices they stop stomping and they part. Virgil, you watch as Cecil and a much smaller villager, one that seems to have a lot of reverence associated with them from their peers, hop down into the sand pit. Aforementioned villager steps over to the combatant you were fighting and hoists him with one hand up to his feet, turns him around, and then gestures for you, Cecil, to join Virgil's side.
In like the fight?
Yep.
Is this... Did we describe that this was a non-lethal fight already?
It's a 2v2. He said Virgil probably wasn't gonna die.
Probably wasn't gonna die. Okay.
I'm gonna turn the song up a little bit.
Sure. So, well, the song's over, so it doesn't matter.
Nah, it's on the...
Oh shit. Okay.
Because you haven't rolled anything. What the fuck?
I was just under the impression it was over. Anyways, so now that it's a 2v2 between Sentra, I think.
Hey, you don't know his name.
Yes, I'm aware, but I'm calling him that out of character.
Okay.
And this doctor.
This life witch.
Oh yes, of course. And it's a sand pit, right?
It's a big sand pit, 15 feet in diameter.
All right. First things first. Do I roll initiative?
Yeah. So what have we got? We've got like, all right, Cecil's going first.
Cecil takes Death in the West off of his back, puts it into the ground like it was a golfing club, and kicks up a shit ton of sand with the flat of the scythe, and I'm going to roll stealth.
All right. Make a hide check.
21.
That's definitely stealthy.
Let me guess. Wait, I want to know. I wish I want to know Sentra's perception check, because it's probably beating that.
He barely has an advantage in the modifier. I'm not going to tell you what the result is, though.
All right. Using this, I'm gonna make this 2v2 into a 2v1, and whip around to the doctor, the life wedge. Excuse me.
Okay.
And attempt to just like cleave through him with Death in the West.
Roll attack. You have advantage.
Yes. Wow. This is the one time I get to be cool, so I'm gonna re-roll that. I'm gonna use my re-roll early into the session.
Okay.
You could also surge it.
No. I'm gonna search the 15.
Yeah, that's fair.
Keep in mind, you do have your health left over from the fight with Sentra.
Yep, I know.
Okay.
And that was my last surge.
23 absolutely hits. Roll damage.
Sure. So sneak attack, 18, and if I great weapon, will it hit or will it not? Do I get to ask that?
No.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
you can't really.
Okay.
You'd be banking on a 18 hitting, which, like, this guy looks like an 18 would hit, but also he has the spooky shit.
Yeah. Hey, what was your lowest? What was your? Wait, no, you crit.
He
against
only
him, right?
crit and then hit no other attacks.
Oh wow. Okay. So I guess I'm just not gonna do great weapon. That's fine. This is not a surprise round, I don't think.
It's not.
And alright, so is that how that works?
3d6 plus 3d8 plus 4 plus 8. Yep, so 37 slashing damage as you just
Too bad it's not
you
bludgeoning.
feel the scythe just sink deep into something, the same way an axe would sink into a tree, and it stops. And as the sand settles after your surprise attack, it's just lodged like through the armor. There's this thick blood that's just gurgling out from under Death in the West. Death in the West's handle is like pulsing, like how a throat looks like when it's drinking. And the dude's fallen once more to one of his legs.
And then it clamps down.
Yep.
And yikes.
It removes a whole bunch of wooden armor, and looks like it gets some real bad tendons in his arm.
Great. And Cecil yanks it out, acknowledges Virgil, and then looks back over to Petra.
No. So
Okay.
so you unclamp it, and as you do, Sentra's moved in for an uppercut.
All right. Does a 39 hit?
Did the million billion hit? He's not very good at unarmed attacks. Does an 18 hit?
It does.
All right. You kind of feel this ambient electricity around him
Cool.
as he moves in, and he deals. Is this how this works?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, he deals
Deals 4 damage.
4.
Do you see it coming?
Eric described, and you see Sentra going
Yep.
in for an uppercut.
So, he goes in for the second punch.
Nope.
All right.
And so the uppercut does glance off of Cecil's cheek. but when
He
goes-
he reverses, and for the second attack, he's driving his elbow towards your neck.
All right. So what Cecil does is, as it's going down, he follows the momentum of the swing downwards, gets down on all fours, and basically like skids around Sentra. So he's currently against his back,
You notice? Okay, keep going.
and then kicks back off. So he's like a good 5 feet away.
All right. The elbow attack seemed like it was coming slower. That was what he was doing with his wounded shoulder.
Yeah.
And now it's Witchman's turn. It's still on one knee. And you just see this purpley black shit just start to seep out of the massive wound, and it
Nice.
slowly starts to begin knitting back together. He's not doing anything else though. He's just emitting this low, dull hiss.
Awesome.
Virgil, your turn.
Can I see through all this sandstorm bullshit?
Yeah, the
or
sand-
has that receded by now?
The sandstorm has receded by now. It was enough. It was enough sand for Virgil to get his
Cecil.
sneak attack. Cecil to get his sneak attack.
Nice flare, I'll admit.
I've come to rescue you in quotes.
Well, I was doing just fine. Now look what you've done. You fucked him up. He wasn't gonna kill me. I hope. I wasn't gonna kill him, more importantly. These people let me ride on their shoulders. I felt like a god.
Sentra's like back in his battle stance, and he just kind of looks between you and says, "Talking is not customary in the fight pit."
Oh, my apologies.
Oh no, talk all you want, but they'll be confused. And he just kind of nods to the audience. He is not taking his eyes off of you, Cecil.
Great.
Very well. Very well, very well. Very well.
Now Virgil
Is
can whip a
he
dart.
out of the... Or...
I don't think he is. This is an Ornstein and Smo situation.
Oh, what?
Never mind. No, I don't think that the masked guy is out of the fight. I think that he's regenerating.
Fascinating.
The short one looks at you, Virgil, and is just like, these people have. He shakes his head. Never mind.
I would love to, if you don't mind. But we are in a fight pit, so do forgive me.
Once again, the stomping resumes. It's much louder now that Cecil and maybe Sentra are down here.
Let me check it real quick. Oh, damn. It's just the first time a successful attack is made with the weapon.
The first time a successful attack is made, they're poisoned for a minute.
Yeah, but that was on the person who's currently...
He doesn't look dead. He looks bloodied.
Well, that's fine. He doesn't need to be dead. I suppose I should go over and knock him unconscious.
That would be smart. He's fixing himself back up.
Very well. And I'm gonna beat the shit out of him.
Alright, roll attacks. You have advantage. He's technically prone.
Nice. Let me toggle that. Not bad. Not bad.
You hit, roll damage.
What a hit.
It would've. Roll
Correct.
brittle bone, roll sneak attack.
Crack.
Crunch. You crunched him. 22 is quite a bit.
Crack.
24
Crack.
is quite a bit.
One crack.
That's quite a few cracking.
Alright, so 22, 25, 32, 42.
Crunch.
Alright, so you run over with your Tonfas, and you just beat the shit out of this guy. The mask cracks in certain places, and he's yowling wildly as he tries to get his arms up to like defend. Looks like you've interrupted the healing quite a bit, and as he brings his arms up, you just start like stabbing at his armpits and like kicking him like in the groin and in the abs, and you're just
Terribly sorry for all this, I really am, but, well, if it's a fight, you need to go to sleep for a bit.
Alright, and he's gonna fucking lunge out at you with his free arm.
Taking his shit.
Another grapple contestion.
Whew, that's pretty high, but I might be able to acrobatics that.
Yeah, hopefully.
I've got a decent acrobatic.
Nice. You didn't have advantage. Oh no. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna reroll? Or are you just gonna take it?
No, I'm just gonna take it.
Alright, so you just finished just punching him in the face, and his head like stops halfway as his arm lunges out, and just your face is completely hidden as his massive hand just clamps over your head, and then slams it on the ground, and he just crawls over and is now straddling you. So you're pinned.
Nice.
He has advantage on these attacks. Let's see if it crits. And then second one. That one misses. No, it doesn't. All right, 24 and
Yikes.
23.
These are amazing rolls,
They're good. They're really good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
but you can see them all coming.
No, he can't. He can't see anything. The hand's on his face.
Oh shit!
Oof. So you take 29 bludgeoning damage as he takes his big wooden gauntlet and just starts smashing it on your chest and shoulders. The sand, like, underneath you is, like, thudding with each impact. As he's just roaring his mighty vengeance. So hopefully you can get out of that next round.
Virgil just like thumbs up.
Your turn, Cecil.
Give us a moment.
He says to Sentra, as Death in the West's entire like frame twists over like it's a divining rod over to the back of this thing, the Life Witch, and just fires the coagulant bolt.
All right, roll attack with advantage because he's prone as well.
You're
Alright.
fine. So you're firing at a coagulant while he is like pinned down on Virgil.
Yeah, just shoot him in the back.
He can't attack with regular Death in the West until he unclamps it.
Yes.
Oh,
Death
no,
in the West
I was
coagulant.
saying that since he's like
That was almost a crit and a negative crit. Roll damage.
since his entire body is
And yes,
flying-
you can still Great Weapon Master this.
I'm great weapon mastering, but does this count as a sneak attack?
Yeah.
At the very least, it would because it's technically.
God damn. Okay. That's I'm so glad I fixed Great Weapon Master to be 1d1 plus 9. So
Yeah, now it's totally balanced.
36 hits him in the side of the head, and just the wood decays into nothing, along with
Oh yeah,
some of the flesh underneath it.
I just like the mental image of just.
We're not trying to kill.
So yeah, got blasted in the side of the head. It's real gross.
Yeah, it also hurts it really
What
bad.
the fuck is this weapon?
You'll see.
Nope.
Whew. So that's 36?
Yep.
Okay. He staggers heavily. I'm gonna give you advantage on breaking the pin, Cecil or Virgil, next round because this is a pretty harrowing hit to him. Sentra just like leans down and places his fingertips on the sand, and then
Can I jump?
what?
Can I jump?
Yeah.
I don't want to get hit by this fucking Rasengan.
He surges lightning down into the sand. Virgil, you cannot possibly make this check because you're pinned to it as he turns the surface of the pit to glass.
Yikes. Wait, doesn't that also hit?
Yeah,
Life Witch?
it does.
Okay. Hit me?
You jumped.
Yeah, okay. So I was okay.
So you take 4 lightning damage, Virgil,
Shoot. Wait, no, my bad.
and Life Witch takes 4 as well. Life Witch just kind of like sizzles and then falls over.
Good night, girl.
Falls over how?
Falls over like kind of on top of you. You still have to get out from under him next round, and he's like 300 pounds.
That's
so.
why I asked.
He's a big boy. He eats his veggies.
Sentra stands back up. And you see a little bit of clarity leave his eyes.
Oh boy.
He's no longer looking at you, Cecil, because he's not looking at anything. He's staring blankly forward.
Good.
And I'm going to leave your theme playing because I want you to have the chance to win. As we go back to Amalia, you come up to this gate, and the person that was at it is no longer there. You just hear this loud stomping with all these weird forest people congregated in a corner, looking kind of pseudo-organized. They're at least marching in tune in place.
Okay.
And you hear the crackle of lightning after like this disgusting whatever noise Death in the West makes when it coagulates.
I think it screams.
Perfect. You hear a weird inhuman scream. This is where the tracks lead.
Well, let's see. Tracks lead here. People standing around. Organized chaos. Yeah, I think I found them. And she's just gonna head in through the gate.
All right. So, are you rushing over to the commotion?
Yeah.
After being noticed, one of the smaller forest people kind of moves off and confronts you, and just puts a hand up and says, "You, what job?"
What job?
What job?
She's gonna look over at what's going on down in the pit for a second.
So you kind of like start to break through the crowd, and you see a massive sizzling witch doctor just like slumped forward, like with its butt in the air, and you hear muffled screams of Virgil underneath it. You see like Virgil's toe sticking out, and you see Cecil. You see a pit that is of glass, and you see a pretty wounded, much smaller one of these forest people, without anything on his torso, with a pretty bad wound in his shoulder.
So she's gonna turn back and she's gonna say, what job? You know what the captain is? You know what a babysitter is?
He gasps as you say babysitter, and then like the crowd parts, and this aged old woman is rushed forward,
The sandpit.
and she's just and she's like
Alright, so
she's like yelping, and then she sees the pit, and she gets like this wicked grin, and she's like gently shoved in, and she lands on the glass, and some of it kind of cracks underneath her sandals. And then like you're gently pushed into Amalia.
I want to point out she said captain first.
Yeah, I know they didn't understand that. So you're fighting Grandma.
Alright, how,
Bam.
how formidable does this old woman look?
Not at all.
Break her legs.
However,
Which of course means that
she's
gonna turn out
excited to fight.
So Amalia is going to look at this, look at Virgil, look at Cecil. Is going to say, "Oh, all right, I get this." Gonna turn. I'm just gonna turn back to the guy who shoved her in.
He's moved back and he's stomping his feet.
Like, maybe someone else. Oh god, I hate to do this. Chief, where's your chief?
When you say chief, all of them gesture at the wounded one.
Great. Okay.
Portions of his hair are starting to stand up, like in a not yellow version of Super Saiyan. Like in the way that, like, you know how hair stands up in Miyazaki films?
He's a Rajang, got it.
Yeah, he is a Rajang.
Hey, would you give me a hide bonus if I shoved glass in his face?
That'd be really hard to do.
If I lifted his mask off his face and then shoved glass into it?
Are you talking? He doesn't have a mask.
Oh, I thought he had one still.
No, it's
Oh, okay.
it's the life witch that had one.
Oh, you just my bad. I was just under the impression. My bad. Okay. So now Amalia kicks the shit out of an old woman.
All right, so roll. Roll, roll initiative.
So, Eric, how are things?
Hey.
All right. What do you do, Amalia, since you're next?
Jesus.
Okay.
This lady's right next to you.
You just pick her up by the head and just broly slam her into the glass.
So, Amalia. Yeah, Amalia gets what's going on here. She's like, she looks at this old lady who's been sent to fight her. It's like, looks over at, yeah, our fight's going on over there.
It's a 15-foot diameter. Everything's pretty close.
Right, great.
Like, there's a solid chunk of this arena you have to avoid because there's a slumped giant guy over there. So you're also pretty close to Cecil.
Great.
Do not
Oh.
fireball.
Oh, that'd be pretty funny though. Cecil looks over to Amalia and is like, "Oh, hey, hi."
You know, this is like the oldest trope in the book.
Yeah, I've come to kind of appreciate it.
Holy crap! I just lawyer. Get going!
Alright.
He's a lawyer.
Guess we're doing a bit of lucha. Are we faces or heels? No, I'm fighting a little lady. We are definitely heels.
All right.
Just making a big theater of it. She is going to ignore the old woman entirely, and she is going to just armbar Sentra.
Right, as you get within range, his action's gonna go off.
I would like to absorb elements.
What's he did?
He is lunging at you way faster than anybody else has lunged at you in your life with unarmed attacks.
Great. Nope.
Doesn't hit. Alright, so
Nope.
how do you avoid these and attempt to armbar him anyways? Actually, see if the armbar is successful, and then we'll describe this. Oh, those should have been +4s, my bad. Still miss.
Still miss.
Alright, so,
Everybody misses.
So,
Yeah.
so
Alright.
you just have to uncommit to the armbar in order to dodge them. Describe it.
Yeah. So, first she's about to pull the armbar, and then she sees him coming. He's gonna swing at her. She's gonna duck under one, duck under the second, and then she's gonna crack her neck. Flex her arm, and she's just gonna do a bring it gesture while up at the crowd.
Okay. Some of the stomps are
she's
out
right.
of time, and some of the forest people look at each other and they just start cheering.
That's awesome.
She's just riling them up.
And it's working. Virgil, try to climb out from under this huge person. You cannot use acrobatics here. You have to use athletics.
Well,
So-
thank God you gave me advantage.
Bruh.
Virgil, you start like moving as much as you can, and you like get you instead of your legs sticking out, you get your head to stick out, so you can finally breathe, and you're just like, help me!
Help me! Holy shit, it is Amalia! Why are you fighting Grandma?
What What's Grandma doing? What's her initiative?
We're about. It's her turn now. Amalia walks over to Centra and raises her hand and just smacks him across the face. So much so that it looks like the vacantness leaves his eyes, and he briefly comes to his senses and looks at her, and then she looks at him for a second, brings up her other hand and smacks him again, and then she walks back over to where she was and climbs out of the sand pit.
What was the damage on that?
1 each. She's not trained and unarmed.
What's the emotional damage?
Why did that old
However,
lady just smack that guy?
he has to roll a wisdom saving throw now.
Oh shit, yeah, he's coming too.
All right, he succeeds as this black and purple shadowy energy starts to manifest around him, and he's kind of got to shrug it off. He shakes his head, and his arms like briefly lower, but the crowd's riled up, and he puts his tongue in front of his teeth in a brief moment of contemplation, and then he moves over to the side of the ring, and he gestures to somebody, and then a second later, the two like blunt rings that he was using against you, Cecil, are dropped into the arena, and as they impact the glass, like the glass is shattered harder than it was under anybody's footsteps.
Good.
And he moves to pick them up, and he twirls them around his wrists, and then he shakes his head again. The vacant look reemerges, and he waits. Your turn, Cecil.
Outside interference. We're back to
Alright.
being-
So it's a full action of it's a full action to unclamp Death in the West.
Yes.
Can I use a bonus Can I use a bonus action to intimidate or no?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I can.
Uh-huh.
All right, so I unclamp Death in the West. As like, so a bunch of like mouths and lips start sprouting out around the shaft, right?
Oof.
This is visible to everyone, and like Cecil tilts his head down and then stares up to basically like to angulate his face like an animal would. And this is an attempt to maybe not to snap Centra out of it, but to kind of bring out a similar primalness just with fear.
No, he's okay. I think he has. Actually, I think he might be immune to fear. Hold on.
Is he immune to fear?
When he's raging.
He wasn't last time.
He wasn't raging last. Oh no, he was raging last time. I'm just double checking now.
All right.
If he is, I'll let you do something else.
Yeah, melee is a.
He's my
Nope.
nemesis, so I still get advantage against him, right?
No, I guess not.
Yeah, he can totally be intimidated. Great, so I was right the
Alright.
first time.
Unless like this.
So
like-
roll intimidation.
Yeah, okay. I still get advantage because he's my nemesis, though, right?
Song's not playing anymore.
Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, he's probably not going to attack you.
This is also like to the crowd as well, like just to get them both riled up and like, oh shit, mode.
They're more riled up than they are oh shit mode, but they're definitely both.
Good, okay, cool. I just want to.
No, we're-
Like they're watching one of their most respected members in a 1v3, and there's never been a 1v3 before.
No, the old lady. I'm confused now. The old lady slapped him. That should make us the heels, but it's 3 against 1, so.
What are you saying?
I'm trying to figure out which side of the wrestling morality we're on.
I mean, thematically, Cecil interjected. We would definitely be heels.
Fine, we'll go with that.
Right, yeah.
This is more important than literally anything else right now.
Oh, no. Proper sense of theater.
So, I guess that brings us to Amalia's turn.
Great. So she sees the giant circles being dropped down.
Yeah.
What is she going to do? See, if there were faces, she would pull Virgil out. But they're not, so. She's gonna crack her. She's gonna crack her neck, crack her knuckles, and she is going to go running in. Yeah, she's gonna go for a drop kick.
Oh, this is so good.
Is it a falcon drop kick?
Wait. Use the sides of the crowd to do a power bomb.
I mean, yeah, sure. Fuck it.
All right,
Yes!
great. So you climb up on the edge of the arena, and like a bunch of the forest people hoist you up and then just throw you at Sentra.
Yeah.
Roll attack
Yeah,
with
I'm
whatever you're attacking with.
I'm gonna melee convert a thunder chromatic orb.
Oh, a thunder chromatic orb?
Maybe
Yeah.
not.
Oh, God.
That's not.
No, he's lightning. He's not thunder.
It's a
Is that how that works?
thunder's sound.
Yes.
Thunder is sound.
Is that
Yeah.
how that works?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I thought that they were the same thing in D&D.
No, thunder is sound concussion.
Oh, that's. Oh wow! So you're gonna concuss him with the. Yes.
So it's a chromatic orb that.
Holy shit.
Roll damage.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, great. So you impact him, and it's like hitting a rock. He does not give it all under the impact, even though like a portion of the glass sand, like past him, like in a shockwave, just shatters up, and it's sand underneath it. His head like budges slightly, and his left arm like uncoils, dropping and rolling one of the discs like in the direction you would come from until it's behind you, and then he all of a sudden draws that arm back as he's basically using electromagnetism to yo-yo it into your spine. He's a lot better at these attacks. Does a 23 hit?
There's a 392 hit.
What's
I
your
forget. Can we surge our AC or no?
Yes,
I think you can.
SpongeBob does a 29 hit.
Yeah, you can surge your AC, and you can surge like you can surge against attacks, and you can surge your saving throws.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna search that because I feel like this will hurt more than.
It probably will.
Yeah.
It'll hurt you more than it hurts me.
So let's search that. Set. Oh, equal. I don't even
Yep,
have to waste.
you win ties.
one.
So,
So,
how you getting out of this
as
one?
it- As it flies back into her spine, Amalia is going to. How fast is this thing going?
It's moving at railgun speeds.
Great. So Amalia is not going to punch her arm into the.
You should probably get out of the way.
Yeah. So Amalia is going to just flip over it.
Okay, that works. And you
Yeah,
land on the
it's
sand behind him.
Yeah, smash into the turn, and she is going to raise her arm for the crowd again.
All of them are silent as you flip, and then you land on your feet as it just stops immediately upon touching his arm. And the preserved inertia just rushes past you and like blows your hair up and billows your bandanas and tassels and all of that. And the crowd is still silent. And then you turn around, you just throw your arms in the air. They all start cheering again. Nobody's stomping in time with anybody. Like, some of them are up on other one's shoulders. Like, they're going nuts. And it is your turn, Virgil.
Oh, is Sentry wearing a mask?
No, he's not.
Amalia's. Does the knocked out guy?
The knocked out guy is wearing a mask, and it's mostly broken. You see some drool coming out of his mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, she's gonna shout to the crowd. Hey, can I get a mask down here?
A couple seconds later, a mask is just thrown at you. It's kind of too big, but
Fuck it, she's slap it on. This is literally libre.
This is the best day of Amalia's life.
all right, Virgil, what are you doing?
I have to athletics my way out again.
You
don't
sure
I?
do. You still have advantage, please.
I believe.
I'm a tiny small cat boy. Come on.
Your Brittlebone got some crazy mileage this fight. Nice. You just you get both of your feet under one of his arms, and you just kick with all your might, and he just rolls slightly enough for you to roll, and you're out from under him like you do a fireman roll, and you get up to your feet. You're like, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good.
And you see Amalia. She's got one of the wooden masks on, and she's riling up the crowd. Cecil's just standing there in predator mode. And what are you doing, Cecil?
Wait.
That's
Oh,
not
it's.
not
I think it's your
Virgil's
full turn to get out.
No.
Can my guy drop? Can I leave?
Yeah, that.
Do you want to try?
Save yourself.
He asked.
They don't know. They don't know your words.
Get away! Scuttle away! Cecil did all of this to get Virgil out, so that'd be good.
They're
No,
chanting.
get- no,
They're
get
chanting.
from behind.
They're chanting two words in tune, or in time with each other. One of them you don't recognize. The other one is rabbit.
Rabbit?
Probably the name of a wrestling move.
Fine.
Oh,
whatever.
No. I guarantee you that's part of Centra's nickname.
Oh!
I'll give you advantage on an attack because that's exactly what it is.
Thank you.
Amalia's
Nice.
gonna yell. Okay, are you looking like you're gonna leave? Amalia's gonna yell at you. No, get him from behind!
Whoa,
you're
is that
here.
Wait a second, is this B-Rabbit from 8 Mile? Is he gonna start freestyle?
Does
Did I
Virgil-
use this huge, large body to hide as a bonus?
Oh yeah,
action?
yeah. You're small enough.
Hell
Get
yeah.
back! You just get back under the covers.
It's
So-
a bit different when you can't, when you don't have to fucking.
All right, roll hide.
Oh, yeah, the shitty kind of heal.
You can't hide. He crit.
Maybe I'll crit.
Maybe you'll crit, but I don't think your crit beats his crit. His is 31.
Okay.
I could. My stealth right now is 30.
Okay, you can definitely win, especially with a surge. So go ahead and try. Well, look at that. Are you surging?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess I will.
Hey, do you have
I
any,
feel bad for telling you because I don't think you would have surged that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I would have felt pretty fucking confident if it was 29.
But it would have been. You know what? But it's fine. Virgil not being stomped to death is not the worst thing that can happen.
Alright, 36. No problem.
Dang.
And now it's Granny's turn. Roll a wisdom saving throw, Amalia.
What?
Remember, she looked pretty happy to be put down in the sandpit. You
Go
are
to the sand pit.
paralyzed.
Nice.
From what?
Well, you don't know. This crackling sort of blue-black electricity starting beneath your feet just surges upward in an instant. You see this, Cecil, vaguely.
Yeah.
And then Amalia just kind of stops moving. She's a little frozen in position.
Alright, I don't want to be paralyzed from this, so...
You could search that.
Yeah, I could, like, urge it. Or, you know...
Oh, wait. But isn't it... Didn't you just get hazed?
It was an action, or it's a reaction, yeah. Don't know what it's a reaction
Alright.
to, but it doesn't necessarily say, so yeah, you can have advantage.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh,
Yeah, no.
spaghetti.
Alright.
And you're
You
searching?
hate to see
You,
it.
you do.
Yeah,
No,
no.
just
I
FYI,
think
melee attacks made on creatures that are paralyzed have advantage.
That's real bad right now.
yeah, sure, fine.
Alright, describe how you magically overcome this.
What is this?
It is hold person.
Oh, bitch. Alright. That's unfortunate. She's gonna ham this up. So, she feels a constricting bands around her, and then she's going to, fake having her arms grabbed together. And then she's gonna pretend flex and just
Oh,
Perfect. Alright.
that's so good.
Amalia's having a lot of fun here.
Yeah, Granny might not have as much fun next round.
So,
Granny left the pit. By all accounts, that should be a forfeit, but
so now
Granny
it
left-
is my
Granny
turn.
left the
It
pit,
is,
that
yeah.
makes them the healers.
What you doing, Cecil?
So, when an enemy is in range of an ally,
You get advantage on
That
an
is-
attack? Yes.
not only do I get advantage on attack, but doesn't that proc
Oh no,
sneak attack?
it procs sneak attack, you don't get advantage, but
I pack fighter.
no, I know, it doesn't give you advantage, it gives you exertion for free.
Oh, wow, okay.
Which
You
is
know what? Sure.
which is better.
That's bonkers. Yeah, it
So
is.
sneak attack and exertion for
So
free.
yeah. So Cecil, in predator mode,
Keep in mind, Sentra used
Yeah.
one of his attacks.
I'm aware.
Okay.
Gets down on all fours as Death in the West coils around his arm, and attempts to what is essentially like pounce forward at Sentra whilst cleaving down with Death in the West, like as a in like a same motion.
Okay.
And essentially what he is going to attempt to do is land on both of Sentra's shoulders, rip in with Death in the West, and then leap off.
Okay.
Like a dog.
So roll attack and then exert.
Oh, yikes. Alright. Hold up.
No, I know. I'm just rolling before.
Does a 22 hit?
Yeah, okay. I will.
You can
Okay.
surgery. You can surgery.
Yeah, no,
and,
I can search that for. Oh, wait. Can I search anything for free? Like,
I think you can just surge the attack for free.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, so I'm gonna search my attack. Does a 19 hit?
So a 19 ordinarily would hit, but his attack isn't
great.
against you. It's against Death in the West. So as you slash down, he loops one of the rings around the blade and then launches it through the air, and Death in the West is ripped out of your hands.
Can I exert Death in the West's AC?
Death in the West's AC was your attack roll. That's what the 22 was against.
My attack roll is 19.
Yep, and 22 beats 19.
That's fucking dumb. Alright.
You land on his shoulders though.
Okay. Does that so it's not so I don't do anything though, or at least I
You can make an armed attack, so you can like bite at him.
Yeah, no, yeah. Cecil, since he's there, I guess he reaches down, one hand on Sentra's like lower jaw, other hand on his shoulder, and attempts to just like bite down on his like the shoulder muscle
Yeah.
right there on the weak bit, and attempts to just like tear off like a portion of like kind of like spraying.
I think
skin.
I think you deal more than 1 damage with your teeth and bite unarmed attack, so it should be 1d4 plus strength or dex, whichever you want. And the 19 does hit him,
alright.
so
It's still a sneak attack,
it is. Yeah.
so it's 1d4 plus what?
1d4 plus strength or dex, your choice, and then sneak attack.
Okay. So 1d4 plus 4. Oh, whoops. I'm an idiot. 7.
Sneak attack.
And then roll 3d6.
Alright. So you bury your teeth into his shoulder and just rip out a bunch of flesh. And you kind of see his left eye twitch a little at that, as like his posture gives a lot more to your attack since you were digging into his wounded shoulder. Are you leaping off or are you staying there?
Leaps off down on all fours, and can I use my bonus action as a secondary intimidate or no?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, cool. Cecil starts to like growl. He's gone sicko mode. 26.
He's still not gonna attack you. He takes a couple steps back. The crowd is going crazy. And he's not gonna hold his action this time. He's just gonna let's see. You go for the tender bit. He's gonna go for the tender bit as well. Just kidding. No, he's not.
What was that
Amalia,
supposed to be?
Amalia, go ahead and make an attack of opportunity. Cecil as well.
Holy, okay. All right. Wow, okay. All right. Can I use my attack of opportunity to grab Death in the West again?
It's like flying upwards through the air. It's out of the pit.
Okay. What is an attack of opportunity?
You make an attack that is melee.
What do I use for unarmed?
Just 1d20 plus dex plus proficiency.
Like, oh, okay. So,
Paltarians are pretty proficient with their unarmed attacks.
yeah, okay.
Okay, so the thunder didn't. The thunder seemed particularly effective on him.
Yeah, the thunder seemed more effective than the slashing and piercing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amalia can go first.
Okay.
You can also beat the shit out of him with bludgeoning. Oh wait, no you can't. I haven't treated him yet.
So we're
You
going.
still could, but
Actually, you definitely go first.
Okay. Cecil down on all fours, begins to like dash forwards once again. But this time like doesn't try and land on his shoulders. This time like leaps directly at his chest and attempts to like while running forwards bite down on his kind of like neck area, not killing him.
So you're doing
I
like
wanna
the
be clear.
dog attack from Dark Souls?
Yeah, exactly like
Gotcha.
the dog attack.
Well-
Picture Cecil as a miniature Sith right
No,
now.
I am. Roll attack.
So D20 plus 7?
You still get the free exertion. Yeah,
Okay. 18 and then free
that hits.
exertion.
That hits.
I know.
Roll damage.
greater weapon fighting?
Great weapon fighting.
No.
Unarmed isn't
Let's-
two-handed.
It's not teeth.
Okay.
Yeah,
Roll D4 plus, is it D4 plus 4 or just D4?
D4 plus dex.
Okay. Did this also proc sneak attack? Cause in
You already
the
proc
MMO.
sneak attack once this turn.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, you can only proc it once.
Alright.
Nice.
Yep.
And so you like his neck's bleeding now. Your teeth got in. Actually, I guess I'll describe it afterwards. Amalia, what are you doing?
So Amalia is going to convert in our chromatic orb. This one is going to be ice.
Oh, alright.
So, yeah, no. I'm gonna search that. Hit.
15 does not hit. Oof.
Alright, I'm not feeling this, so I'm re-rolling that. No, this is too important.
Have to win.
18.
Yes. A 22 hits.
Nice. We're gonna tone it again. Fires.
All right. What does this icy hot punch look like?
Oh no. So Amalia is going to channel the chromatic orb down her left arm, light her right arm on fire. And as he is retreating back, Amalia is going to grab him from behind, and she is going to German suplex him.
So this is an attack of opportunity. You're making it like as he's leaving your range. You can't really do it with a grapple.
You sure? I feel like, you can get back up if he's still alive.
Yeah, sure. So you suplex him, you bring him down, slam his head into the sand, and this is like as Cecil is detaching and like spurts of blood are shooting from his neck. He fights up, like first one arm, then the next, to his feet, and while he's crouched, you hear this cackling electricity collect underneath his toes because he's standing with his feet like a cat's. And then he launches himself in an arc away from the two of you, and he starts flipping sideways. And as he's doing so, he's collecting just a fuck ton of electricity, and he comes down on Virgil.
Virgil?
And does he
doesn't
miss?
Know. Wait, he doesn't see Virgil. He did.
Yeah.
36.
Yeah.
He crit.
Smooth brain DM moment.
No, he.
No, you're right. You did win the stealth check. So,
Wait, but
reverse
I
of
got
that, he just jumped straight up.
Yes. AoE. 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 AoE.
So 22 against you, Cecil. 17 against you, Amalia.
So 11 against me.
No, 22 as an attack roll against you. 17
Oh.
against you, Amalia.
Hey, would it be wise here to try and exert my...
I would say if you can exert, you
I have one more left.
should... Okay, well, you either have to exert this or the saving throw after, which is a dexterity saving throw.
I'm exerting this.
Okay.
Alright, 7 gets it, I think.
Yeah,
no, 23.
so
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna shield this.
All right.
So no, that doesn't.
So, as he's spinning in the air, he throws the disc
How is it
down.
all-
It slams into the glass and just shatters it up in shrapnel to you. And then, at the same speed that he flung Death in the West away, he pulls himself to the ground in a ground slam. And this lightning nova just emanates out and blasts both of you back. Roll a dexterity saving throw.
Wait, if we succeeded that, then what?
You take half damage.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's awful. Oh,
No, that's-
wow.
You
Hey.
you see this coming, Cecil?
Wait, pause for a second. Wait.
What's up?
Hey, Catherine,
Yeah.
you have a nice looking reroll right there.
I think she just used it.
What?
Yeah, she used her reroll on the chromatic orb.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh yes, Catherine. Catherine has a reroll.
I mean,
Don't you want your reroll for tree research, Catherine?
You could.
Come on.
You could use your reroll for
I
tree
mean,
research,
I am kind of
Tree
worried about what.
tree search.
but I am at 15 health, and it is 5:54 p.m.
All right. You get my reroll.
You have a doctor.
Yeah, but not for long.
All right, go ahead and reroll.
I did.
15 makes it exactly. All right, so you take half damage.
I take half damage twice because I succeeded the.
Yes. So you take Amalia. You take 27. Cecil, you take what is that? 13. You take 6.
Yep.
Lightning damage. And Amalia, you're knocked prone.
Okay. What if I resist
Resist what?
the lightning with absorb elements?
Then you take 13.
Okay.
No, yeah, you still have your reaction. You used it at the very end of last round.
Yep.
Knock prone still though.
Yes.
Doesn't really matter because, we're in a 15-foot radius arena.
And it's your turn,
Yeah.
Cecil.
All right. So Centra's in the middle of the ring. So even if an enemy, or even if an ally isn't, even if an ally is prone, I'm assuming it doesn't constitute sneak attack still.
If
Or
an
does it say
ally
anything
is
about
prone, yeah, no, it doesn't.
that? All right. If I kick glass up in his face as a hide roll, does that count?
He turned the arena to glass so that you couldn't use it as a hide roll.
I mean, into his face, in his eyes.
Throwing
glass in your
glass at his eyes would not be a hide roll; it would be an attack.
eye. All right. Question: would throwing my coat over his head count as a hide roll?
Boy, Fergus, you are fishing. Have some
I would say
dignity.
yes, but only as an action.
I completely understand. No. I'm just trying to figure out. Well, no, that's an actual technique, though.
No, I know.
I was saying that to my good friend Caro. All right, cool. Well, all right, okay. So it would be this, then bonus action hide,
Yep.
and then I would be double sneaky, right?
No, you'd be single sneaky, but you would be rolling it twice.
Okay. Wait. First things first. How bloody does he look?
He looked pretty bad jumping down in here. Like, the fact that he's even willing to do this is, like,
Impressive.
he doesn't look good at all. He just slammed himself into the ground really hard.
And as far as the fiction goes, we're all looking pretty okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Let's think here. Does the gauntlet that the guy had count as a great weapon?
If you want to try and pry it off, you can do that, but
Yeah, never mind. I just attempt, like, Cecil's still going sicko mode. Cecil attempts, without hiding, to just walk up over to Centra, and punch him in the mouth.
alright, roll attack.
There's no preamble. It's just gone to slugfest. 20 plus 7.
That hits, roll damage.
Hey,
Congratulations.
congratulations! What? Eric? You cut out. Hello? You can't just say congratulations and then nothing else.
Your fist slams into the side of his head, and he just falls backwards.
I just hear a magic. Go for the pen.
He's alive, right?
The cheering kind of like abates a little bit as a bunch of forest people just flood into the arena, and they heft you up first, Amalia. Probably the biggest group hefts you up, and then a bunch heft you up, Cecil, and soon everybody, including like the bodies of the fallen, are just crowd surfing these people as they move you to the center of their little village, and then like they place you down around a huge like fire pit, and then they kick it up into a bonfire, and they bring out like these huge cauldrons of food, and they're partying.
Awesome. Can I acrobatics off the crowd surf over to get Death in the West and over to Centra? Centra hasn't been picked up.
So you find Death in the West. It looks broken in half, but it's not, because it's pinned into like a tree trunk from the weight of the disc that's
So
got
cool.
it there, and it's just like
they're just
screaming.
Yeah.
So you grab and pull at it, and you can't budge the disc.
Yes, but I can't budge the tree. So what Cecil would attempt to do is stand up on top of the disc and like kick the assumedly half broken looking tree,
Yeah.
like out just enough that he can.
So it takes
kind of
you
finagle it.
probably a good 5 minutes to finagle it out like this, but you do get Death in the West, and the rest of the tree just kind of like topples over past it.
It makes the sound of like one of those rubber chickens when it exhales, except that it a scythe.
It's also a lot deeper
Can-
red because like it was kind of
Yeah,
flooding towards the contusion.
And it drank a lot of blood.
It did, yeah. Drank a whole bunch.
So
Speaking of blood, can I get to tending that guy's wounds?
it folds back around him. And
So
he
they kind of
walks
just
over
they
to
kind of drop
Roy.
they drop the barbarian, like the one with the discs, just on the place like where he was sitting, and he just falls limply on it. And then the one that was working on him just walks back over and replaces the needles in his shoulders, and then examines the rest of his torso and puts a bunch of needles in other places too. Like there's some going in his neck and others like in his back and stuff. And then like
that makes for a totally learned for you.
and
he
slumping. No, no. And
No,
the life witch is just like slumped on the ground next to a tree nearby in this pseudo waiting line. No, he's not dead either.
Well,
Alright.
I want to tend to the life witch then.
He might look like
May I?
Two-Face.
So hold on. Let's do this one person at a time. Are you guys together, Amalia?
Yeah, she is.
Okay, so Amalia, you're not around the fire pit. You're over where the doctoring area is.
I don't know. I feel like Amalia would be fucking partying.
Yeah, I
right
feel
now,
like
having the
Amalia would
time
be
of her
partying.
life.
Yeah. Okay, well. Yeah,
So-
he's just like.
Okay, so first we have Virgil, who didn't have to go get Death in the West. Just like you get off the crowd surf as a small part of them just like branch off and bring the losers over to the bench and start working on them, and all of them are red in the face from screaming, and as you get close, they just start like punching the air. And they're like, "Life witch, life witch, life witch."
The
Or
life witch
likely.
is going to get to work.
One of them tries to like grab at one of your tonfas.
They can see it.
It takes one of your tonfas. It takes a knife out, and it like carves a symbol in it, and then starts punching the tonfa into the air, just screaming, "Life witch, life witch!" It gives it back to you, and So you're working on the other life witch first.
Yes.
Roll medicine. Yeah, these are pretty basic wounds. You're just like, yeah, I just need to fucking elevate this and put some ice on this and
Also,
this.
there's
and...
like fun fact. The thing that shot out of Death in the West is kind of it looked a lot worse in combat. It's actually like just like it's like if flesh was or if phlegm was made out of ham.
That's
You just
disgusting.
peel it off.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that fact in the middle of this medicine check.
Yeah, it's a little process.
So-
It's something crafting medicine.
Yeah, this guy's doing fine. He didn't really have any wounds that were going to last too long, except for the pretty bad Death in the West wound in his back, and then one particularly, like you shattered his cheekbone with your tonfa.
Of course.
And so you get to reconstituting that, and as you do, Cecil comes over.
Yes, he does. Cecil, kind of looking away from Virgil, takes out what appears to be a whistle from his pocket and hands it to Virgil, without saying anything.
Did you just give him a dog whistle?
Yes. He looks
I think that
embarrassed.
would have been. Thanks.
Listen, if you get lost or hurt and there are...
Closer to your mic, please.
Sorry. If you get lost or hurt or anything like that, I'd like you to use this ornamental whistle. It's bound by magic. It's just a dog whistle, but it sounds better to say that it's magic.
I know how dog whistle.
Shit.
It's okay. That said, this was fun as hell. Question: where's Kavi?
What? I thought that you all were staying behind.
You all just hear Amalia just cheering from over by the fire pit, which is now
Yeah,
crackling loudly.
Well, I mean, under the assumption that they're all just hiding with the Folian Gertskritch lady. There was a few tree mishaps.
Tree mishap.
Yes.
In that case, Kavi's got this. Oh,
Yeah,
hold
yeah.
this for me real quick.
Is it just the whole person? Like what's the whole this?
I don't know, just something to help him out.
Oh yeah, he like hands you a bunch
You
of
know-
doctor tools and.
Yeah, he's just holding it. He's just holding
As
it
you're
out.
doing
A
this,
particularly reflective mirror.
as you're doing this, the person who is working on Sentra is just like, he's kind of pausing and watching your technique in some ways. He seems kind of fascinated. You're still under the effects of the serum, by the way.
Yep. Which makes that actually a 12, not a 10.
Cecil's looking out at the crowd of people. What are they? He knows their opinions of Amalia with all the cheering, and he knows Virgil is the Life Witch.
There's a
He's
lot
just
of them that are paying attention to you guys, and like,
He's just standing there like.
if they weren't glugging down like
hell yeah.
sap alcohol. Oof, trusts. Anyways, they're like, they know where you are, but they're not coming over.
Fair.
Like, they respect the medical process, and one of you is a Life Witch. They're a little more curious
true.
about you, Cecil, because you're technically a hunter.
Yeah, he kind of like sets the bags down and walks over to Amalia. Kind of
I gave you one job!
absent-mindedly from how actually important sterilizing.
So as you do, the ones that you're closest to stop cheering, and they part in the same way they parted for you and Sentra at the sand pit. And
Looks perturbed.
Amalia, you see Cecil come closer.
Well, it's just go like the mask like on half toe in her head.
You've got like half of an entire pork roast in one hand, held by the bone,
Yeah.
and then like a massive just gourd of pineapple.
Yeah, just go look up and see Cecil and say, "No, buenos dias, muchacho. Join the fun."
Yeah, quite the day. He is like absent-mindedly like kind of wiping off like blood from Sentra from his like lower like his chin. He's like trying to get it off, but it's just kind of smudging and it looks awkward. He grabs one of those he grabs like a vegetable kebab and is like picking at it.
Vegan dogs? Ugh.
Too.
Um.
Also, yeah, what Eric said.
So, yeah, you can work on them both. Roll medicine, and then
It's like zucchini.
and then
I mostly just
Nice.
Wow, what are the odds?
And then Cecil and Amalia. Do you want to do anything in particular, or can I cut to Catherine?
Yeah, no, yeah, cut to the.
And Albus. Don't forget Albus.
He's left for the night.
Oh.
Albus
Wait, I thought we
responds.
were hiding in the cave together.
You are.
Oh, for in
yeah,
real life.
Yeah.
Okay, let's cut to them. I was just going to be like,
So, over the past 10, 15, 20 minutes-ish, the stomping has gotten much louder, and then it stopped. In the rough direction and distance that you're pretty sure the ship was in. And then it stops. And you can't really see
Okay.
anything from where you are.
Unfortunately, I'm really pissed. Alright, well, I suppose we should get out now. Albus.
He nods in
Okay.
response.
Roderick, would you like to come with us to the tree we're staying in?
Roger just kind of stammers, and he's like, sure, I guess.
Alright.
And he's
Is
sort
he
of,
looking better?
good enough to walk on his own.
Okay.
So he stands up, and he looks like he has this sullen sort of quietness about him. He's kind of avoiding eye contact, but he follows you to Dirt Scritch's tree, and you don't see Dirt Scritch outside, but you quickly see that one of the little wooden chimneys is emitting a lot of steam, so she's probably taking another bath.
Okay. You can climb, right?
I can try.
Right, here. I'll go behind you and kind of. Okay, maybe I'm a bit small for that. Albus can go behind you in.
Albus, who is smaller than Kaveen.
So,
Yeah, well.
Albus just casts Featherfall on him,
Okay.
and all of you, and you guys can climb without any real danger. So you guys, you get to where the you get you get up to where the original place that you had talked to Dirt Scritch in was, and she opens the door. And it looks like she was drawing the bath. She hadn't quite got in. There's a different liquid in the large container, and there's a couple other things. There's like these vines that are making this gulping, spasming motion from the stuff inside. Okay, to join me.
Sure. Just gotta deposit Roderick here, and then I guess
Oh,
we missed the walking trees, didn't we?
wait, weren't you a wolf Palturin? And Roderick just kind of like shakes his head slightly. Oh, thought you were. Anyways, come in. I don't think you missed it. I don't think it came close enough in the first place. Seems to have stopped somewhere thereabouts. And she just like throws her arm in the vague direction. With those things, you can't really attribute any rhyme or reason to the direction they're traveling. You just have to hide and hope you get lucky. And I guess you got lucky in the wrong way.
Yeah, alright. Well, let's get you inside. And where's everyone else? Did they get back yet? No?
Everyone there were more of you? Oh, right, the crazy cat Palturin. I almost forgot about him. I haven't seen him. The cart's still down there.
I suppose I should. Oh, whatever. Wait. Oh, and we should probably go back to the airship now that nobody's been stomped and Roderick's not. Because Roderick says there was kind of an attack on there, so.
He nods curtly.
Right, Albus. I guess we're going down again.
And you go down and you're going to make your way over to the airship?
Yep.
Great. So as you do, are you going to do so stealthily?
Yeah.
Roderick casts his Pass Without a Trace on you three. so you could just make double sure. And as you come out, you're sort of peeking out of some shrubbery at the little clearing where it landed. And the airship has been shoved onto its side. The one mast it had is just completely fractured and thrown into the trees. You see what was it called? You see an acacia that was not there, the biggest tree. Um, and the ship is currently resting up against one of its massive trunks.
Oh,
So
so that's where it went.
it's just chilling here. It's not moving. Uh, you don't see Rudolph. You don't see Frederick, but you do see Silverblood, and she's being like held in the air. She's like yelping in pain every so often because she's being held in the air by her bound wrists that are behind her back, and it's carrying most of her weight, and her arms are probably broken. Um, she's just kind of like hovering next to somebody else who looks vaguely similar, but she's garbed much differently. Um, she looks probably she's tall for a woman. She looks human, but with dark skin. She could be an Octian. She's just a little too tall for one, and she's got this regal sort of elegance and um, poise to her posture. She's got this long black hair that's tied tight in a top bun, and it drapes down behind her back. But her attire is the most interesting. She's clothed in the same way that two of the people in the cart were. She has this ornate, pure white set of robes bound tightly to each of her limbs with ribbons, so that it's not really flowing as much as it could be, but it's still a lot of stuff. And the gaunt sort of mass to the cloth is apparent. Around her shoulders, there is an enormous flowing cape of shadows interspersed with glinting gemstones, and it has a grandiose popped collar, swimming with the same massive rocks. It looks like Silverblood is hefted in the air by some magics employed by this woman.
Well, I think I really do need Albus actually here for this, because I'm gonna,
He gave me permission to play him.
Okay, then I turn to him and say, so, I guess we go back and wait for the others? Unless you have anything you can do that would, like...
Albus kind of like looks intently, and Roderick just he says, "Why don't we send him back to wait, and me and you stay and watch to see what happens."
All right.
So Albus he takes off. He runs back to Dirt Scritch. And while you're watching, after probably about 3 minutes, it looks like the woman in the fire robes is talking to Silverblood for the entire length of time before all of a sudden something kind of like crawls down one of the trunks of the Acalia, and it detaches and starts hovering over. It looks like this weird sort of vehicle that's draped with the same white. It looks like a much more sort of it's almost like one of the flying cars from Canaan, except it's more sort of old worldy. It
They have
has
flying cars in Canaan?
rather regular cars, except it's flying. It looks like a flying carriage. And as it comes, the woman sort of grabs Silverblood by her hair and throws her in. And you hear her impact the wood inside. And then she goes over to the front of it and begins to start to pilot it. And it looks like they're gonna leave. And then all of a sudden, another. Sorry, were you gonna say something?
Well, I'm starting to say to Roderick something, but...
Go ahead, say it.
Starting to say, do you think we should we're gonna be stranded here, or something like that.
Okay. Roderick looks like he's pretty. He can't decide whether or not he wants to go in and do something or stay. It looks like staying is the safer option in the short term, but it may, like you say, strand you in the long term. When all of a sudden this massive white shadow lion, just perforated with these massive black spires of solid obsidian, walks like seemingly
Shadow
unaffected.
lion, as in it's like
Like it's wisping with the same stuff that Kakaspiel
Bunny
does,
has.
but it's like this bright white color. And it has these shards of obsidian sticking out of it. It walks down a different trunk of the same Ikalia as if unaffected by gravity, and riding atop it are two more women that look the same as the one that had just thrown Silverblood into the carriage. And as they come down, the lion takes a big sniff to the air and it looks at you, and it looks like the women start paying attention to it. Roderick looks at you and says, if we're going to leave, we need to leave now.
yeah, above my pay grade.
So as you turn around and you start making your way back through the shrubbery under the effects of Pass Without a Trace, you burst out into the same position you were in. You're looking back at the floating carriage and the lopsided airship and the Ikalia that was not there before. Except this time, the woman with the massive flowing cape of shadows is essentially right in front of you, and she's bending over and looking like directly into your bush.
Uh-oh.
She smiles and says, "You're following the crows too closely, searching the grounds with too fine-toothed a comb. This trap wasn't meant for you." And she reaches out and she takes a hand and just brushes it along the side of your face, Catherine. Why don't you come out and talk a little bit?
Creepy lady.
Now that you're much closer, you can see that she has these sort of luminescent light blue eyes.
Okay, so who was the trap meant for?
She stands up and sort of takes a couple steps back and gestures you forward. Oh, the little critters that this snare was meant for. They are all accounted for, at least with your return. And she also sort of beckons Roderick forward, and he gulps.
Hey, hands off Roderick!
She looks back to you and says, "Very well. If he is your man, I will not trifle. I do say, though, you pick yours well." And she sort of glances over him. "What you are looking at is a Fire a la room. Would you like to accompany me to our grand city?"
Well, we're kind of, I mean...
Speak loudly, speak proudly, and speak with purpose.
You want me to come with you and just, like, leave everyone else behind?
Well, if you would rather stay in the mud roads, you're better off dead. And several portions of her cloak all of a sudden turn very sharp and elongate as her smile vanishes.
Yes, of course, we'd love to go.
Perfect. Z, as she calls over her shoulder and turns around, the massive white lion comes down over to you after the two women that were on top of it get off back up at the airship. And the lion just like sits on its haunches next to you. Roderick's kind of like, he's slightly hyperventilating, and his eyes are squeezed shut. but he slowly like starts to move over and get on the shadow lion.
Look, if you have any better ideas.
I don't.
Then I guess we go with him. We figure out what we're.
And the lion steps up. It begins to float in much the same way that the carriage does. And as you breach the canopy above, you don't go inside the carriage. You're still next to it. And you can't really see inside. The windows are just pitch black from the exterior. As you breach the canopy, you see many floating pathways of stones that are held magically aloft that all lead towards something that you didn't see as you were landing, this massive sort of skybound cathedral. You can also see the Acalia, and the Acalia that is below is much taller than any of the Acalia that are nearby. Just to move it onto the map, that's what it looks like. And it's currently stationary.
Okay.
Pretty.
Whoa. Dang, that's. Wait, that's showing it with its arms.
Uh-huh. Those are trunks.
So.
It looks exactly the same when it's stationary, it just doesn't move.
Alright. Too bad that I can't dig around inside it.
Yeah, too bad. However, it is something to come back to. And back to the forest gang. So it's been a bit. Festivities were had, and Sentra has awoken.
Good.
Most of his stuff is stitched up much faster than normal, thanks to Virgil. And though Virgil, you do there is fucky shit to do with Death in the West's wounds, but you figure out that treating them like regular wounds works, so you're just leaving it at that for now. Most of the people have are moving about and going back to their regular duties. Sentra's just sitting somewhere, and it's 9:30. And the other life witch, who has also come to, approaches you, Virgil. And he takes off his broken mask, and he hands it to you. And then he says, "Chief Light Witch."
Well, thank you, but it's not like I'm staying forever. These people are going to need you.
He looks blankly at you for a couple seconds, then says, "No talk. Me, no good." He's stumbling a bit, and then you hear softer from behind you, Sentra just go, "They don't speak our language." And then he talks at the Life Witch in the native tongue, and the Life Witch regards him, takes the mask closer to himself, and then he brings out a hatchet, puts it on a tree stump, and then hacks it in half, and puts it over his face. And then he holds up yours, and he says, "Victory." And then he gestures to you with it, turns around, and throws it at the bonfire, and it just flares with the arrival of the new wood. So he just sacrificed half of his mask to commemorate your victory.
Thank you.
Cecil.
You did good too.
Words.
You did good too.
Sentra just relays it, and the Life Witch's eyes widen, and he bear hugs you, and then lifts you up over his shoulders and says, "Chief Life Witch, but go." And then he sets you back down.
What did you say about my butt?
But go. Bad? No, I'm just kidding.
Cecil walks over to Centra, and like nods to him with regard.
Oh, you got your weapon.
I did.
He sort of makes the effort to stand up and then stretches his head to the side as he cranes his neck and says, "Could you show me where it landed?"
Yeah, back over there.
He follows you.
Yeah, he is as they're wandering. Cecil puts his hands in his pockets and is like, "So this all started, as I recall, from you attempting to kill me. I think."
Well, I was willing to let bygones be bygones.
No. I'm not particularly offended by it. I'm just curious as to why.
There is information we've come upon regarding a few people. They were in that direction. I thought you were affiliated. You still might be, but either way, you've earned accolades here.
Care to elaborate about these people?
Are you familiar with the Fire family?
More or less.
They're very sneaky in how they rule this place. Lots of plants in lots of places.
I see.
A few of them are over there. One named Steelclaw, one named Dirt Scritch, and one named Cyrus. Cyrus is new. Comes from a land far away.
Dirt Scritch, huh?
I take it that's the one that sounds familiar?
It does.
Well, thankfully, it's not one of the plants. That's more of a personal vendetta. Not one I plan on going after anytime soon, but either way. He bends over and just sort of effortlessly picks up his disc after jostling it loose from the tree.
I have a question about that. As I recall, those things are heavier than, the average airship. Care to elaborate on how you pick them up?
No.
He kind of like puts his finger on the inside of the rim and like twirls it around before just setting it in place behind his back. There is how familiar are you with these woods?
Not at all.
The closest this comes to anything would be to the Hikuruzatva, which is a long four-legged lizard with brown, blue, and yellow scales, crackling black fur lining its muscled joints. Dwells in the canopies primarily, and it has several stony organs called Zatva. That's where that part of its name comes from. They jut from the ridges along its back, and it also has one inside of its mouth. The people that I'm around, they just call it the storm lizard, storm caller, lightning god, that sort of thing. Some effect or other allows it to draw in copious amounts of jungle moisture, in addition to the friction that its fur creates as it slithers along the barky surfaces. It can create small storm clouds.
Interesting. And this, and this somehow is relevant to the fact that you can pick up a X amount of ton disc, too, actually.
I killed one and ate one of the Zatva.
Okay.
Don't know exactly how it works.
Well, I see. Very interesting.
It's a little painful.
Yeah, I could imagine. No, yeah.
Letting go of one is kind of like removing a fingernail. They tend to go very fast, though.
Yeah, no, have that done to me. Bad, yeah. Question number 2.
He starts walking back with you.
Yeah. have you have you noticed any strange goings on aside from the eternal night?
There are much strange goings on. The
Okay.
the extra night cycle is attributed to the Fire family. It's not the first time it's happened.
Right, I see.
What's your name?
Cecil. And you?
They call me a few things.
The one that you prefer.
I like Rabbit.
Rabbit, okay. And then Cecil relays back what Rabbit in the tongue that they chanted.
It's
last,
still Rabbit.
but with a with a silly accent.
Oh, that? He says, "Oh, they were I didn't realize they were cheering that. They wanted you to kill me." He smiles.
Yeah, yeah, I could have imagined your eyes were glazed over like they were the other night. Well, actually, no, this night. Wow, time does
Closer to
go
the
by
microphone.
fast.
Rabbit is short for what do they say? Rabbit. No, it's the end. Bear that hides within rabbit. That's what they
That's
say.
a good one. That's a cool nickname.
And then the others,
Oh.
Child of Lightning, Facer of Storm Serpent. That sort of thing.
Wow, you have some absolute clout attributed to your name. That is impressive.
My old name was Centra.
Centra.
And he sort of raises his leg and places it on another stump. And as he does, instead of hearing the noise of someone stepping on a stump, you hear the clang of metal. His foot is made of this brass color.
Okay.
And he says, "I come from the Rasal family."
I have a friend who would call you a prick.
He steps on the ground and says, "Elaborate."
Oh no, what's Guido's species?
He is an Arium.
Arium.
You can also see that this guy's also an Arium. He's just mostly
Oh,
human.
wait. Is that what that means? I thought that was just a prosthetic.
No, Arium just look like people with varying degrees of prosthetic stuff. That's still a part of them.
But does a full Arium need to be the one that lifts the thing, or is it just like whoever?
It's technically whoever.
All right, then I'm gonna omit that, because that doesn't mean anything anymore. Because I mean, Guido only doesn't like the Revolve family because he use of the lift.
Yes.
Okay, so never mind. Cecil just looks at that and is like, "Oh, an Arium."
It's not something these people would be familiar with, and protecting this from rust takes quite a lot of effort, but heat does some wonderful things.
Yes. I mean, I've got a friend who was one gold, so lucky enough to get the rust out.
He stops you, and he gets in front of you to face you, and he places his hand on your chest again. And you feel the same tug on your wrist. And then he looks up at you with like this questioning look in his eye.
Does he say anything?
No.
All right. Well, I put my hand on his chest because that's the thing that the tug, the weird barbed wire tugging wants to do. What is this? This hasn't happened before. Can we elaborate a little bit on what's going on right now?
He's just silent. It looks like he's trying to piece things together.
Paco!
Cecil kind of is kind of puts his other hand on his shoulder and shakes him a little bit and is like, "Hello."
No need to jostle.
Sorry, yes.
I'm as confused as you are.
Okay, could you elaborate?
Do you know anything about this?
Know anything about what specifically?
He just looks down at the arms.
Oh, A friend of mine, lovely heretic. Bit far away, but he could probably explain it. This is a. Can you see this?
You
And
get
he rolls
some
up.
you get some recognition in his eyes as you start talking about your buddy over in the Eshevai, and he lowers his hand and he says, "Oh dear. Oh gods, no."
This is very theatrical, but
You've
it
been to
usually
the
helps to use your words.
you've been to the other place.
That means many things depending on who you ask. The other place. Elaborate once again. I hate to use the word so many times in a conversation, but
He furrows his brow almost as if in pain,
Thesaurus.
and he's like, "I can't remember the name. It's different. It's when you're sleeping, I think."
Eden.
So you say Eden, and his eyes light up, and then the same cloudiness goes over them. Not like the rage cloudiness, but the same like cloud of confusion. And he's like, "What did you just say?"
Eden.
And the same thing happens, and he's like, "Fuck. Okay, don't say it anymore. That's probably it."
Okay, let's try this again. How do I do this? Nide.
Why did I hear it that time?
Ah, good. Now think about that, but in reverse.
He winces and like holds his temple. And he's like, "No, same thing."
Alright, well just think of the phrase nide, but in reverse.
Great.
Just assume. That's the name of it.
There is no anti-memetics division. So he nods and he says, "Do you know why you're there? Are there other people?"
Yes, everyone that you fought, and then some.
That explains quite a bit. Particularly why you hurt so bad.
Oh no, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I was more or less like this before this.
Well. He just regards you and then continues. It means that you're bound to something.
Okay. Yes, and I can. Okay, you can say the gist, and I can fill in the gaps with the things that I'm allowed to remember.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
And he just starts walking again.
So bound eternally to it. Yes.
I don't think it's eternal because I'm not anymore.
Oh.
There were only two of us, but I can't remember who the other one was.
Do you remember who they look like? What they look like? Favorite color?
They were small, like me. This would have been 8 years ago. We were there to wake something up, or more than one thing.
Well, from what I recall, and out of character really quick, does Cecil remember everything that Calliope went through?
Yeah.
Even like the moments prior to death?
Yeah.
Alright. Well, as far as I can tell, you are mostly correct. We are,
Closer to the mic.
we are, how do you say? I think we're in some sort of contract?
And as you start going into this explanation, you come back out of the woods.
Forced contract?
I was
There's and Virgil's still there, and Amalia, where are you?
So yeah, Amalia is still enjoying herself, and then she's like,
Well, I do have to get back to business at some point.
so she just slams the empty tankard down, and puts the bowl away, and she walks back to the rest of them and is like, "Alright, so, I was caught up in the moment there, but, what the fuck is going on here?"
So this is as Sentra and Cecil emerge from the woods. Sentra's like shorter than he's almost as short as Virgil.
I thought you were about to say. I thought you were about to say he was shorter than before.
Yeah, he's
That's a good question.
he's a Funko Pop now. So Cecil,
Oh god, it's in Seraphit all over again.
Sentra sort of gestures for you to catch them up.
Okay, so basically, the thing that's happening to all of us, Dream Dimension, EDIN,
Why are you spelling it?
because
Why is he spelling it wrong?
Because is it? Doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
it's
If I say it, our good friend what was it? Sentra forgets or gets a headache or something. Basically, he's gone through it as well. A bit scary to think about. But yeah, no, it's happened before.
He just kind of standoffishly looks at the rest of you. He's just got both of his hands clamped over his ears.
Cecil's tail
Permit
starts wagging.
me. His hands are clamped over his ears. Hey! Hey! I need you to do something.
He unclamps one hand.
Take my hand. And he holds out the corkscrew bruised, scarred hand.
He walks over and he takes your hand.
He's planning your hand
Can you
against
trace this?
until something happens.
Shush! Trace your fingers against this scar.
He just starts. He looks at the scar curiously first because it's a weird scar, and he starts to trace his fingertip around it, and then he just kind of looks in your eyes as he traces it back, like with one eyebrow raised, and then he holds your hand again because he's really unsure what he's supposed to do here, and then he looks at Cecil because he was just touching his chest for no reason, and
Cecil,
He just like slapping his hand against things until something happens.
Cecil looks like
Well-
He's been punched. He's been punched a lot.
Sandra just takes a couple steps
I
back.
kind of figured that,
Yes.
spooky fucking ice golem.
His eyes
He has no
widen.
real concept.
His eyes widen when
No
you
real
say
concept.
spooky fucking ice golem. And his mouth opens slightly and then shuts.
Oh shit! I thought he was making.
What's up?
As everyone's like, what's up, and this shit's happening, Cecil starts to look really excited and be like, oh, this is Virgil, and this is our captain slash mage slash strongest person in the group, Amalia. Virgil is also our doctor.
So when Sir Centra reacts to I don't know. So would you have believed him about the ice golem guy?
Oh no, what? Oh no, I believe him. I saw it.
That's still confusing to me.
So Amalia's gonna reach into her pocket. She is gonna pull out 5 gold piece, and she's gonna flip over to you, Cecil. I'll be damned. It was real.
You thought I
I thought you were just like near deaf listening.
Cecil
Oh, it was definitely near death, but
Cecil would have like regularly caught it, but he was so excited to like introduce people to Centra, it just kind of bounces off his nose and collects it off the floor.
what do you think happened when I told you that he wanted us to kill someone, and then we immediately got a vision of who we had to...
Gee,
Get no
gee,
fucking-
I don't know, Virgil. What would I think about you telling us about some guy who gave you authority to kill people? Really
And
difficult.
then we got a target. We all saw that weird machine.
What's that on my way? There's like, oh well, if you say there's a guy who tells us to kill people, wow, that makes everything so much better.
Well, I certainly don't think it's coincidence.
Sentra, after he gets cut off, just looks at Cecil. Are they always like this?
Yes, almost always.
Wonderful.
All right, son. So, all right, do you have a name of whatever this thing is?
I do, and it's very important, but I can't recall it.
Cryosmesirin.
Fuck.
Yeah, fuck.
It's very important, its name, and it's hiding it from you for a reason, but it is one of the things that I woke up.
Yeah, if I had that, I could. If I had that, I could maybe do something. So, I haven't actually tried this before, but does thinking about something specifically like we do in Eden work in the real world?
No.
No. Okay. I'll say it now. I tried off screen then. Comes back to
Sentra just starts walking over somewhere.
Oi, Sentra,
What?
are you do you live here?
Yes.
Huh. What made you, live here?
Exile.
From where?
From the Bastio district.
Huh, why?
It's a long story. And he keeps walking.
Well,
He doesn't get that far before he just like vanishes into a hut, and you hear some rustling around, and probably after you guys can keep talking. I'll get to that.
Did you find? Okay, so did you find out anything else about this place?
well,
They give me some fucking respect around. That was nice.
Occasionally, a villager passes by, and like whenever they pass by any of you three, they just like stop, turn towards you, and then like bow.
I mean, I'm not trying to take away your thunder, Virgil. However, you did get called the best doctor by beating the shit out of someone.
Well, yes, and then I treated their wounds.
I guess that's fair, but that wasn't the criteria, was it?
Presumably, we would have beaten the shit out, but presumably, before you interfered, presumably it would have went that we would have beaten the shit out of each other, and then we would have seen who could heal whose wounds first. Just a theory, mind you, but, you know, he's seeing which one heals better. It sounds like a pretty good idea to me for, you know, doctory or, bright witchiness.
Not for nothing, that sounds like the shittest witcher fight I've ever heard.
Yeah, a little bit. Also, really quick, well, I mean, for all I knew, Virgil, you were, like, kidnapped by, demons. Then what?
I mean, that definitely true, and I definitely thank you for your assistance. Most definitely, because you know, it could have went bad, but let me tell you, I had a pretty enjoyable ride here. Even I got to sit on someone's shoulders and they carried me. It was wonderful, and I like it here. Never thought I'd say that about a place in Narzdoreth, but I like it here.
I wish I'd figured out what was going on. I was trying to grab a chair as I went in.
So.
By the way, what on earth was all that about? Heels and faces? Those are body parts.
Okay, so, and then I like to imagine...
Sentra comes out.
Oh, damn it.
Oh, no, never mind.
I was really hoping it could be like a mom and dad that talk, but with wrestling between Virgil and Molly and Cecil.
Sure.
Like, okay, so a power bomb.
That explains all those moves.
When you go into the big city, you learn things.
I like to think that like the Eshivai district is so shitty that like some places have imported like Emilite VCRs. And they just watch shitty recorded Canadian wrestling on them.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna flavor it with. It's just bootleg CDs.
So as you're explaining this, Centra comes out of his little hut, and he's got a lot of stuff packed, it looks like. And he comes over to you and he says, I'll figure out a replacement. Where are we going?
Oh, you're coming with us.
I have to.
Why?
He just fucking... He doesn't do the full thing this time. He just, like, half-assedly gestures his hand towards your chest. And he says...
Yeah, Virgil also just like gestures towards his arm.
He
What
just...
do you think?
Centra just says, let me tell you, I've been associated with this kind of thing once before. And no matter how hard you try, you can't get away from it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you could kind of get away from it by saying, you know what? I'm not going to ask. Welcome to the club. Would you like an orange?
Alright.
Apple. I recommend apples.
Alright, so.
Why? Because we keep the doctor away?
Alright,
Exactly. I'm building an immunity, voice in the sky.
So Amalia is going. While you're doing this, Amalia's going to look at Centra. It's like, do you know how much influence that thing has in the real world? Or our world?
How much influence what has?
Well, the ice thing. See here?
I don't think they have any influence in the real world.
Right.
That's why I needed to go there to wake them up. Also, is there something we can call that other place in lieu of its actual name?
Idea.
Need.
What if we called it the gamer dimension?
What's a gamer?
You mean like those?
Okay.
You mean those shitty VCRs that people play in Eshivai?
Oh, you know what? That's
Whenever
actually
we
a
got
pretty
one.
apt comparison.
Are you, you only have PCRs?
Well, okay. We shouldn't.
Why
call
don't you
it-
just put on a laser disc while you're at it?
It's
Look, I never had any of that personally.
Closer to the mic, Fergus.
I had one. Well, back in
Oh,
my.
you depraved child. In both senses of the world.
You have no idea.
When I had it, I was neither depraved nor a child.
No, I'm talking about him.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah. He's still one. Yeah.
Virgil nods a beat. Hey,
Right, yes. Yeah, let's just call it that. Anyways, well, we should introduce you to the rest of our friends.
There's more?
Yes, unfortunately.
I need to find out that thing's name.
Well, I mean, okay, hear me out.
There is
Now-
what I could do.
The thing that... Let me paint you an analogy here. What was your name?
Who of me? Amalia.
Pleased to meet you. Call me Rabbit. The thing that... Oh no, Centra's fine too. I just...
Is Rabbit like a code name? Oh, can we get code names now?
Actually, that's a
would be pretty cool.
That's a good idea. Rabbit is short for bear that hides within rabbit because I'm little and I punch really hard.
It's true.
He points to Cecil.
Train?
What?
You hit like a train.
Not train. You can hear a train coming from mile.
It can't be something that you have to sit there and explain.
It's true. He calls some villagers over and he discusses some things with them in their native language. And he's gonna see what they think. You guys can come up with your own ideas.
Well, Virgil, call him, I don't know, Wildcat. I don't know,
That's so racist.
well, you called me a dog,
You are a dog.
and you're a cat.
I'm not a cat.
He says, like, leaning over and flicking his ear.
Yeah.
Does
it.
Amalia,
does Virgil have a tail? Do you guys have tails?
yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
Cecil does.
Man, you're gonna have to hide that tail if you wanna get away with that one.
Amalia, what kind of nickname would you want? Captain?
Something other than captain. Something
yeah.
punchy.
Sparrowhawk.
Sparrowhawk. Oh yeah, that'd be good.
Isn't that your mom?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's kind of messed up.
using it.
That's pretty Freudian, but you know what? Cool.
Yeah, it's her mum's thief identity. But you know,
I mean, hey, when you hear the stories, you want to emulate them.
you're in a completely different city, so you know there's no overlap.
But yeah, I like to imagine that Cecil and Virgil were making like mock nicknames at each other this entire time until Centra and the other people.
So Sentra comes over and he's just got this
Definitely,
shitty grin
100%.
on his face, and he says, One of my favorite parts about this Gronja tribe is their ability to make monikers. He gestures to Amalia, they call Ringmaster Thunderclap. Shorten that as you will. He looks to you, Cecil, and says, Wolf God Fang of Flesh.
What?
And then he looks to you, what's her name? Virgil, and he says, and they call you the Skyblood Life Giver.
I like it.
Okay, what? Fuck. It's a flesh fang. Oh. Oh. Okay, that makes sense.
Virgil just kind of gently taps one of his own things, and then the flesh of his body as if to say, duh.
Yeah, fight me.
I mean, that's your job, isn't it?
So, nothing as
Flesh
grandiose as rabbit, I know, but I like them.
I mean, assumedly. I won't discuss how xenophobic, specious, whatever you would like to call it, wolf is as an abbreviation, but I will. That's fine. I don't care that much.
You could always not take it.
Yes, but it's just more convenient.
They also gave you another one, but it was a little mocking of me, so.
I kind of want to hear it. I won't take it, but I'd be interested.
A rabbit stomper?
No. You deserve more respect than that, but that is quite funny.
So Amalia is going to, now that everyone's scared, she's going to cast Sending to Kiki.
Alright, Catherine, so we smack on back to you, and you're still sitting on top of the lion. The lion's perched on like a cool little sidecar of the carriage, even though it's almost the same size. And the carriage, like it feels like it's not flying, like it feels like it's moving over a road, even though it's aloft in the air. And it's moving over the floating stones that were magically held aloft, right? It looks like wherever you're going is a good distance in the way, but now that you're above the canopy, this place is just gorgeous. Like the sun is out in full force. It's just crested like the entirety of the mountaintops in the far, far distance. And the clouds are obscuring it to the point where it's not blinding. Its warmth is exceedingly prevalent on your skin. Roderick's fallen asleep next to you. And it's going to be a while. You can't really see inside the carriage. Do you want to have tried to get the attention of any of the three women?
No.
Alright, so you've just been chilling and you get this message from Amalia. Made friends with the natives. Are you back with Dirt Scritch? Did the trees get you? You can respond in 25 words or less.
Okay, so I have to. Let me come up with Okay. So, can I think the words, or do I have to say them out loud?
You can type them.
They are mental.
Oh no, yeah,
but
you do have to
typing
you have
them
to
helps,
you have to
yes.
think them back to Amalia. You don't have to say them.
Okay.
Oh, it's the baby. It's the baby Evie. We turn to Evie appreciation while she's figuring this out. Oh, it's the baby. It's the Bubba. Are you sleeping? Have you been sleeping the whole time? Have you been watching Eric look stupid because you can't see anybody else talking to him? Is he crazy? Is Eric crazy, Evie?
Gotta say, Eric,
What's up?
punching Sentra hard enough that he joined the party is definitely a highlight.
Hell yeah, and now you can use your theme song literally whenever you want just to impress him, as long as he's here. So good choice.
He's my rival.
I like the idea of of Cecil just being like, "Hey, watch this."
Yeah, basically. Makes Virgil a nemesis to impress Virgil.
Oh, Mally and him are gonna have so much to talk about berserking.
Oh, it's the Bubba. It's the Bubba. Alright, so, Catherine's response. Some guys attacked the ship and we sort of got kidnapped. We're playing nice with them for now. Ask Albus.
Season 20. 5 more words if you want them.
He's with Dirt Scritch, probably.
Yeah.
Cecil leans over to Amalia and is like, what did she say?
The ship's been attacked.
Oh, good.
And whoever it is, they've captured Kavi.
Oh, so it's not the tree.
Well, we're going to get her then, aren't we?
Sentra?
Closer to the mic, Fergus.
Rabbit.
Centra looks over.
We,
He says,
going to go
yes,
stop-
Rabbit Stomper.
We're going to go stop a kidnapping. You in?
He blinks at you and says, that depends. Who's doing the kidnapping?
Don't know.
You've been told who they are.
What? Some guys attacked the ship and we sort of got kidnapped. What do you mean?
No, you specifically have been told who they are.
Wait, you had a ship?
Wait. Out of character for a second. Wait, did I?
Yeah, Molly Centra explained to you who the Fire were.
Oh. Yes, we did, and I have reason to believe that it's the fire.
Well, that was what I was going to suggest, but it seems you came to that conclusion yourself. And
yes, fantastic.
and yes,
Good
if we're
stuff.
going to be contending with that, how about we don't?
I see.
This is going to be delicate. What does this ship look like, out of curiosity?
Big?
Black Flight? Ring any bells?
Yeah, that's it.
He smiles. Joy.
I assume you have history.
It's more the ship has history, and I'm not surprised it caught up with it.
Right. Well,
Dun, dun, dun.
You care to explain about
The
this?
the captain of the Black Flight is a what would you call fire deserter?
Captain, possibly was, depending on how recent this is.
When we say cap, are we talking about like nope, human woman?
Wait, fuck, never mind. He doesn't say captain. He fucked up. He says one of the members is a fire deserter. One of the more prominent members.
Oh, I can take a guess.
Alright, so there's 2 left. I guess that would make Silverblood.
That's one of her monikers.
Right. Now that
Right. That's unfortunate.
So-
we've established this,
There's something very inherent to the families presiding over Nartzareth. Makes them very protective of their secrets. She has many of the Shadow Witch's secrets. I would say the only ones more protective would be the Alusians, with their true naming.
well, now that we know that, fantastic. Let's go get her back. Preferably now.
To do that, we're going to have to get into the Fire Temple. And
Okay.
to get there, we have to go through the tiered gardens.
Okay.
And the only time they're going to be open to us are going to be during the Fire Mass, which is a monthly, day-long congregation of all Sylvanists into the Fire Temple's locale. That's the reason the auditors exist. They move throughout the entirety of the mud roads and above, providing transportation. During During such a mass, self-crafted masks of the antlered god. Are you familiar with who that is? It refers to Cernunnos. He is written to have lived as a spirit of the Sylvanwood some undetermined but vast length of time into the past. Depictions and carvings vary, with a few constants. Cernunnos' right antler is always larger than the left. Flora, believed to be lumen flowers, grow off of him in thick densities, and he has 2 rows of 3 eyes, each with a single large one above the rest. Apart from this, his depictions take many forms. Either way, so you're supposed to make a mask of this fellow, and it's meant to symbolically hide one's identity to pause potential feuding or rivalries.
Okay.
As you can see, this would be our best bet at getting in.
I can't see. Is there? I can't personally picture it. Couldn't we just go in a way that isn't, in quotations, allowed?
I'm sure you could try, but one misstep and...
Yeah, I don't think the shadows are going to be your friends here.
That said, you are quite good at hiding. And he designates to Cecil and kind of cups his chin in his hand.
Sorry about that. But yes, you too. So I'm just thinking about it. Is that what we could do? And you're allowed to say no. I'm not forcing it. What I'm just saying is that a couple of us, preferably the ones who are more dexterous on their feet,
Closer to the mic?
go in, look around, and scout the area out. And then during the mass, we all go in, and then we know exactly what we're looking for.
That's a decent idea. We could also do a kidnapping of our own to get information on the interior. That would require a much shorter instance of stealth, but then we would have to question.
Yeah, let's kidnap people.
The auditors... I'm not exactly sure when the mass is. I don't know how far into the month we are. We don't really do a great job of tracking time in the Gerdonja. So, first thing we should do is figure that out. We should reconvene with the one remaining friend you seem to have with Third Scritch, and then try to track and kidnap an auditor?
Sounds good. Isn't she your enemy, though? Didn't she, eat your parents or something?
They were already dead. I was going to bury them, and he just kind of moves his hand, and he's like, that disrespectful bitch just saw a meal.
Yeah, she doesn't exactly seem
Talking about disrespect to
respectful.
bodies.
Also, I would take it more personally if they were my actual parents. Like I said, I am a Rasal. They were the Gronja that adopted me.
Well, it is 7:14 p.m., Cecil says. looking at his modern watch.
Alright, we calling it here?
Yeah, I guess.
Operation Catherine tries not to die while the rest of the party try to kidnap an auditor.
To be fair, if she died, she probably would wake up in the gamer dimension. Then again, who knows what would happen.
If she died, she would wake up in front of Ice Golem, and then you would decide if you want to keep your character, and if you didn't, she would die. And if you
Okay.
did, she'd be sent back.
Alright.
You make it?
What?
Very good session.
I was tempted to use my